Chapter 2978. Flowers wilted and blossomed. Spring went and spring came. Luli had been cultivating in the pond for more than 3 years. 3 years might seem like a long time, but for Luli at his level, cultivation for 8 to 10 years would be over in an instant. He himself didn't feel anything. He thought that only 1 or 2 months had passed. He hadn't mastered the secret technique yet, but it wouldn't be long before he reached the final stage. He was already at the final juncture. After such a long time, his realm was changing again. The biggest change was that the swirl formed by the origin energy was spinning faster and faster. As the swirl sped up, so did the absorption of energy from the pond. If it were not for the fact that the energy was entering Lu Li's body through the ground, he would have been discovered by the 2 demon abyss warriors. Actually, one of the demon abyss warriors sensed something was wrong, but he thought Lu Li was cultivating, so he didn't pay much attention. It was common knowledge that cultivation methods of humans were different from those of the Asmodeans. Today, one of the demon abyss warriors finally noticed something was wrong. The swirl in Lu Li's realm was faster, and he was absorbing energy from the pond at a faster speed. Strand after strand of energy came out from the pond and gathered under Lu Li in the form of strings. There was a line connecting Lu Li and the pond. In this way, Lu Li could be easily spotted. One of the demon abyss soldiers noticed something strange. His eyes flashed, and he said a few words to the other demon abyss soldier. That demon abyss soldier checked, and he was also surprised. How important was the pond? It was the holy land that nurtured the entire race of the Asmodeans. It was the most treasured land and the most important place in the Asmodeans. No matter how special Lu Li's cultivation method was, the fact that he was taking energy from the pond was a serious matter. One of the demon abyss warriors suggested to report it, but the other one was hesitating. Lu Li's identity was distinguished as well. His surname was Qian, and he could cultivate in the pond. He must be someone important. If they reported this to Lu Li at the first sign of trouble, it would be too easy for Lu Li to kill them. There was nothing wrong with the pond. It wouldn't be a big deal to absorb some energy from the pond. The 2 demon abyss warriors talked for a while and decided to play it safe. They woke Lu Li up and told him to go down a mountain. If he didn't want to go down the mountain, they could only report it to the higher-ups. A demon abyss warrior walked over. He didn't dare to touch Lu Li. Instead, he called out to Lu Li. But Lu Li didn't do anything. The abyssal demon warrior had to form a black airstream and slowly move toward Lu Li. Lu Li's body was touched, and he finally woke up. He opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. He had been in seclusion for too long, so he was a little muddle-headed. Lu Li found himself on the shore. Moreover, Qian Gang and the others were gone, leaving only 2 demon abyss soldiers. He paused for a moment and asked, "How many years have I been cultivating here? Where are Qian Gang and Qian Lu?" "My lord," the demon abyss soldier quickly reported, "Sir has been cultivating here for more than 3 years. Sir Qian Gang and the others had already left 3 years ago. It was Sir Qian Dagger who sent you up here. He told us to watch over you, and if Sir wakes up, we will invite you down the mountain." More than 3 years? Lu Li was even more confused. So much time had passed. He had been cultivating here for such a long time, and nobody had woken him up? Were Qian Dagger, Qian Gang, and Qian Lu willing to let him cultivate near the heaven pond? Wait, Lu Li was confused. The 2 demon abyss warriors said that Qian Dagger had told them to invite him down a mountain when he woke up. If so, why did the 2 demon abyss warriors dare to wake him up? Lu Li asked. One of the demon abyss warriors pointed to Lu Li's lower body and said, "Lord, I think you are absorbing energy from the heaven pond. The heaven pond is very important to our race. If our lords know about this, they will. So we hope that you can stop cultivating and go down the mountain." Absorbing energy from the heaven pond? Lu Li was even more confused. He used psychic power to check and was shocked by what he saw. Sure enough, there was a stream of energy flowing out from the ground and into his body. The energy was coming from the heavenly pond. Lu Li checked his own realm of Dharma at once. He was even more shocked because his realm of Dharma was completely different from before. There was a lot of purple mist in the realm of Dharma, and the source of energy had become a swirl. It was because of this swirl that the realm of Dharma could continuously absorb energy from the heaven pond. Why is the source of energy moving on its own? What is this purple mist? Why are the chains of order moving on their own? Luli was a bit panicked. He felt he was losing control. The chains of order were moving on their own. The source of energy had become a swirl and was absorbing energy from the heaven pond on its own. Everything had shocked and confused him. He tried to control the chains of order at once. They appeared in his hand, and he was not losing control. Luli was a bit relieved. He focused his mind on the realm of Dharma to control the source of energy. As a result, he was able to easily control his origin energy. The whirlpool of origin energy disappeared, and the subterranean heaven lake's energy immediately stopped flowing into his body. Only now did Luli feel relieved. Everything was still under control. He thought for a while and sent the chains of order into the realm of Dharma and stopped controlling them. As he had expected, as soon as Luli stopped controlling them, the chains of order swam around happily in the purple mist. The mist was thicker now, so it could be called a mist. Once again, the source of energy formed a swirl and began to absorb energy from the heaven pond. A stream of air spread out from the heaven pond and flowed into the realm of Dharma. This is amazing. What is going on? Luli could not figure it out, but he felt it was a good thing. Clearly, the purple mist was something good. Otherwise, why would the chains of order be so excited? The chains of order could move around in the mist. They might be using the purple mist to improve themselves. The purple mist must have come out from the realm of Dharma after absorbing energy from the heaven pond. Therefore, absorbing energy from the heaven pond was beneficial to him. There was no doubt about that. As for why there was a swirl in the source of energy and why it would absorb energy from the heaven pond, Luli could not figure it out. It would be great if I could cultivate here for a period of time. Luli was tempted. Absorbing more energy from the heaven pond was definitely a good thing. He had a vague feeling that if he could continue to absorb it, his combat strength might soar. Lord! While Luli was thinking, the two abyss of demon warriors were losing patience because Luli was absorbing energy from the heaven pond again. If Luli didn't come down, they would have to report to the higher-ups of the abyss of demon warriors. What are you yelling about? Are you courting death? Chapter 2979. The two abyss of demon warriors were scared by Luli's shout. Luli asked, "Where are Lord Qian Dagger and the others? Are they in the sacred mountain?" "No." One of the abyss of demon warrior shook his head and said, "Lord Qian Dagger has gone to the Middle King's universe. All the lords cultivating in the pond have gone there. Sacred Ancestor Yuan has launched an all-out attack. Most of our powerful warriors and armies have gone to the Middle King's universe." Luli was surprised. The abyss of demon was launching an all-out attack on the third heaven. Luli asked for some details and learned about the time of the attack and some other details. Luli was intrigued. Sacred Ancestor Yuan and most of the powerful warriors had gone to the third heaven. There were few powerful warriors at the sacred mountain. That was to say, nobody was paying attention to him now. The powerful warriors of the abyss of demon might not even know of his existence or that he was still in the pond. That was to say, maybe he could continue cultivating here as long as the two abyss of demon warriors didn't go to inform him. How could he stop the two abyss of demon warriors? The best way was to make them disappear. However, this was the sacred mountain, and there was an Asmodean ancestor guarding here. If the Asmodean ancestor found out, Luli could be killed by the Asmodean ancestor. Therefore, killing these two demonic abyss soldiers was risky, but the benefits were also very great. If he killed these two demonic abyss soldiers, he might be able to continue cultivating in the Heaven Lake. Right now, he was absorbing the Heaven Lake's energy at a very fast speed. Perhaps in the future, it would only get faster and faster. He might even be able to absorb a large portion of the Heaven Lake's energy. At that time, would his Dharma realm undergo a transformation? Lord, one of the abyss of demon warriors said nothing. The energy in the pond was being led into Luli's body. The abyss of demon warrior was getting impatient. Every time a powerful warrior from the abyss of demon warrior cultivated in the pond, it would take some time to recover. If Luli kept on absorbing energy, What if something went wrong with the pond? The two warriors were responsible for guarding the pond, and they were disciples of the royal family. They attached great importance to the pond. One of them said, "Lord, please go down. You cannot cultivate here." Luli stopped cultivating. Ferociousness rose in his eyes again. He snorted and said, "Who do you think you are? How dare you disrespect me?" Luli decided to make his move. After all, the temptation was too great. He needed a reason to make a move. That way, if he was discovered, he would have an excuse. The two Asmodean warriors were enraged. Luli was a human bastard. They were not powerful enough, but they were still members of the royal family. One of the Demon Abyss soldiers was enraged. "You piece of shit! Who do you think you are? You're a lackey of Sacred Abyss. What are you being so arrogant for?" A stamped stone in Lu Li's hand kept glowing as he recorded the words of the Abyss warrior. As soon as the Demon Abyss soldier finished speaking, his eyes flashed with light and a soul attack poured out. He had already condensed a soul sword and attacked two Demon Abyss soldiers at the same time. His soul attack was extremely powerful. The battle prowess of these two Demon Abyss soldiers was similar to that of a fifth tribulation. Their souls were instantly shattered by the soul sword. Luli actually had many other ways of attacking that could instantly kill these two abyssal demons, but he chose to use soul attacks. This was because soul attacks were silent and would not cause any fluctuations. It would not easily attract the attention of the Sacred Mountain's powerhouses. How dare you humiliate me? Courting death. Luli pretended to snort. He put the two corpses into his interspatial ring and waited quietly. If there were powerful warriors of the Abyss watching over this place, then he would be discovered immediately. By then, he would have to face the wrath of the powerful warriors of the Abyss. If he was not discovered, then he would have some time to cultivate. It could be a month, a year, or 10 years. He could not say for sure. It all depended on whether there were powerful warriors paying attention to the situation at the Heaven Pond. If that Asmodean ancestor accidentally used psychic power to check, then he would be discovered immediately. Time moved on. Luli was getting nervous. Once he was discovered, not only would he not be able to cultivate here, but he would also lose his life. The time for 10 breaths, 30 breaths, 1 incense stick. Luli was relieved and overjoyed. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, no powerful warriors of the Abyss of Demon Abyss showed up. It meant that no one from the Abyss of Demon Abyss was paying attention to the situation at the Heaven Pond. Luli's guess was right. He was really lucky. 3 years ago, when they had just cultivated for 10 years, Sacred Ancestor Yuan ordered a general mobilization. Almost all the powerful warriors of the Abyss of Demon Abyss were mobilized to the third heaven. Not many powerful warriors of the Abyss of Demon Abyss knew that Luli had come to the Holy Mountain. As soon as he arrived, he went to the Heaven Pond to cultivate. Therefore, he was not noticed. Later on, the Abyss of Demon Abyss mobilized, and most of the powerful warriors left. Even though there were many of the royal family of the Abyss of Demon Abyss, none of them cared about a surrendered warrior. Sacred Ancestor Guang stayed behind. He knew that Luli was still cultivating at the Heaven Pond. But since Qian Dagger had arranged everything, Sacred Ancestor Guang did not mind. As far as he was concerned, Luli was just a nobody, a hidden pawn of Sacred Ancestor Tian. Sacred Ancestor Guang did not take Luli seriously. Sacred Ancestor Guang did not care about Luli at all. He didn't think anything could happen to the Abyss of Demon Abyss. He sent a large number of scouts to monitor the Abyss of Demon Abyss, and then he went into closed-door cultivation. If anything happened, the scouts would report to him. The Heaven Pond was at the Holy Mountain, which was the center of the Abyss of Demon Abyss. The hierarchy was strict. Average warriors of the Abyss of Demon Abyss would not dare to go near the Holy Mountain. Therefore, Sacred Ancestor Wang paid no attention to what was going on outside. If something happened, powerful warriors of the Abyss of Demon Abyss would report to him. Coincidentally, this gave Luli a chance. Luli waited for the time for several incense sticks to burn to make sure that no powerful warriors of the Abyss of Demon Abyss were here. Then, he walked to the edge of the Heaven Pond. He was hesitating. Should he cultivate in the heaven pond, or continue to cultivate by the edge of the heaven pond? Cultivating by the heaven pond could allow him to absorb energy quickly. However, it could cause turbulence in the heaven pond, which could attract the attention of the powerful warriors of the abyss of Demon Abyss. Cultivating by the heaven pond would be gentler and less dangerous, but it would slow down one's progress. Louis thought about it and decided to take the risk. He would go into the heaven pond. Nobody could tell when he would be discovered. Once he was discovered, he would not have a chance to cultivate anymore. If the two warriors of the abyss of Demon Abyss died, he would be held responsible. Wait, I don't have any more heavening grasses. Louis thought of something. He took out 2 interspatial rings, the rings of the 2 warriors of the abyss of Demon Abyss. Soon he grinned. The 2 warriors of the abyss of Demon Abyss had more than 10 heavening grasses on them. More than 10 heavening grasses would be enough for him to cultivate for more than a decade. He took out 2 heavening grasses at once and walked toward the heaven pond slowly. Plop! He went into the heaven pond. As soon as he touched the liquid in the pond, he noticed that the whirlpool of origin energy in his Dharma realm began to spin crazily. Then, the energy in the heaven pond surged into his Dharma realm. So powerful. Is something going to happen? Chapter 2980. The swirl in the realm of magic spun wildly. Energy from the pond surged into Lu Li's realm of magic. Previously, when Lu Li cultivated on the shore, the energy from the pond would be like a stream. Now, it was more like a raging river. Compared to before, the amount of energy in the realm of magic was at least 1,000 times greater. Every second, energy was being absorbed. Lu Li's realm of magic had become a bottomless pit, sucking in energy from the pond. The pond was large and contained a large amount of energy. However, Lu Li and the other 9 powerful warriors had been absorbing for 10 years. The energy in the pond was already running low. If Lu Li were to go on like this, there would be problems. Where there was yin, there would be yang. Where there was input, there would be output. Nothing was isolated. The heaven lake was the same. The energy of the heaven lake was definitely not endless. There should be a natural formation inside the heaven lake. This mystical formation gave birth to the heaven lake. The formation would produce liquid constantly. The liquid would not affect the formation even if it was absorbed by warriors. But if it was too much, it could affect the functioning of the formation or even lead to problems. It was the same with the human body. A person could recover after a day of hard work after a night's rest. If he were to work for 3 or 4 days in a row, he would be overwhelmed. If he were to go without sleep for half a month, he would be exhausted to death. Lu Li was not a citizen of the Asmodeans, so he could not care less. He was consumed by negative emotions and had become selfish. All he wanted was to become stronger. He wouldn't mind if the pond was destroyed. He had killed 2 warriors from the Asmodeans' abyss, which was a serious crime in itself. To kill a member of the Asmodeans' abyss on the sacred mountain was a grave sin. If Saint Ancestor Guang learned about it, he would be skinned alive even if he could survive. Now, there was a shortcut to become stronger, and his temperament had changed. Why would he have so many concerns? He must absorb the energy first. He could tell that the realm of magic had changed, but he had no idea what the change would do to him. He only had a vague feeling that perhaps after absorbing all the energy in the heaven pool, the Dharma realm would truly transform and become incomparably powerful. Right now, he could no longer focus on cultivating his soul mystic arts. Instead, he focused on observing the Dharma realm and sensing his surroundings. After a moment's thought, he released Blood Fairy to observe the situation in the heavenly lake. If the heaven pool divine formation was going to have a huge problem, then he would stop absorbing before it happened. This way, perhaps after a period of time, the heaven lake would recover, and his sin would not be so heavy. 3 to 4 days later, Blood Fairy sent a message, which shocked Lu Li. Master, I don't think the pond is a pond. It seems to be the core of a supreme treasure. Supreme treasure? What do you mean? Lu Li asked after some thoughts. It was just a pond. What did it have to do with treasures? Where did this come from? Blood Fairy paused for a moment, then said, I have a feeling that the entire sacred mountain is a treasure, and this pond is the heart of the sacred mountain. Of course, I'm not very sure. I still have to investigate in detail. Go and investigate carefully. This is very important. Luli ordered at once. If the entire sacred mountain was a piece of treasure, then the treasure would be powerful. The sacred mountain was definitely more powerful than a holy weapon. Needless to say, the pond itself was a piece of treasure that could produce such powerful liquid. How large and tall was the sacred mountain? This was the center of the abyss of demons, the place where the royal family of the abyss of demons lived, the holy land where the entire abyss of demons was born. It could be said that without the sacred mountain, there would be no abyss of demons. If the sacred mountain was a piece of treasure, then how powerful would it be? Previously, Luli did not have much desire for treasures. He didn't even have a strong desire to possess holy weapons. But if the sacred mountain was a piece of treasure, then he must find a way to get his hands on it. The sacred mountain was definitely more powerful than a holy weapon. Luli was excited. He was not in the mood to cultivate anymore. He stared at the Dharma realm, waiting for Blood Fairy's result. Time passed by. Half a month had passed, and Blood Fairy still did not send back any message. Inevitably, Luli was getting impatient. Would the investigation take that long? After another 3 or 4 days, Blood Fairy's voice finally came. "Master, I've found out." "How is it?" Luli asked in a hurry. "I am sure." Blood Fairy gave a firm answer. "The sacred mountain is a piece of treasure, the most mysterious, miraculous, and powerful piece of treasure I have ever seen. Even if tens of saint emperors were to attack this mountain together, they wouldn't be able to damage it in the slightest. This saint mountain is filled with profound divine runes of the heavens and earth, the most profound and complicated divine runes I've ever seen. I'm sure of one thing. The pond is the core of the sacred mountain." Well, Luli was shocked. He did not expect that the sacred mountain was a piece of treasure. He did not want to hear anything else. His eyes reddened as he asked, "Is there a way to control it? Can I take control of the sacred mountain?" "Almost impossible." Blood Fairy's words made Luli's heart sink to the bottom. Blood Fairy explained, "To control the sacred mountain, you must control the formation in the pond first." However, this divine formation was simply too powerful. It was extremely difficult to control it. "I have been searching for half a month, and I have not found a way. Maybe I am too weak. Is there no hope at all?" Luli was frustrated. Blood Fairy did not answer. Clearly, there was no hope. Luli thought about it and said, "Go ahead and explore. I need some time to cultivate here. See if there is anything you can do." "Okay." Blood Fairy dived to the bottom of the pond and continued her exploration. Luli checked the Dharma realm. It was the same as before. Luli decided to cultivate. He had yet to cultivate the secret technique imparted by the swan ancestor to the great success stage. Taking advantage of this period of time, he could cultivate it and improve his strength a little. Soon, 3 months passed by. Luli had been in closed-door cultivation. Now, he had made up his mind to cultivate without worrying about anything else. He must master the skill of soul skill first. Luli was at a critical moment. He was about to master the skill. However, he was interrupted again. All of a sudden, Blood Fairy said, "Master, I found something." Luli came back to his senses. At first, he was angry. Then he became excited. He asked at once, "What is it?" "The formation in the pond is weakening," Blood Fairy transmitted. Then she pondered for a moment and added, "Master, it is very likely that you are absorbing the energy of the heavenly pool, causing the divine matrices to weaken." "Weakening? Isn't that normal?" Luli frowned. He was absorbing energy from the pond. It was normal that the formation was weakening. He even suspected that if he continued to absorb it, the heavenly godly formation might have problems. "Wait," Luli suddenly realized something. "Are you saying that the formation is weakening? You have a chance to control it?" "It is possible." Blood Fairy was excited. She said, "Master, keep absorbing energy from the pond. Maybe when the formation is weakened, I will have a chance to control the formation and then the entire sacred mountain." P.S. Chapter 4. It was almost dawn. Chapter 2981. The third heaven had been very calm recently, so calm that it made people flustered. With the combined efforts of all the large and small clans in the third heaven, almost all the humans were sent to the purple sun continent. Not only did the demonic abyss not make any moves, but the middle army also stopped in the middle of the divine wind continent. The other armies also slowly advanced, showing no intention of surrounding the purple sun continent. Therefore, recently, the third layer of heaven had experienced a rare moment of peace. It was so calm that it made people panic. The demon abyss could have beaten them when they were down, but they didn't advance. This made the human race's hearts pound. It was the same in the past. The more peaceful the demonic abyss was, the more likely it was that something big would happen. However, the human race only had so many experts left. Only the purple sun continent was left. How could they lose? At most, they would all die in battle in the purple sun continent. Only Taoist Tianzue knew that the demonic abyss had been searching for an ancient battlefield during this period of time. They had already sent out millions of scouts to the 8 continents and 6 seas. The human race sent out some scouts. They were all top-level scouts, but there were not many of them. These scouts did not search the ancient battlefield, but only monitored the movements of the demon abyss army. The demon abyss did not eliminate these scouts. Firstly, it was difficult to eliminate them. After all, the humans were the local tyrants. Secondly, as long as they did not interfere with their search for the ancient battlefield, the demon abyss could not be bothered. The unfettered Saint Emperor made his move and quietly began to investigate the 13 ancient battlefields that they had locked onto. The unfettered Saint Emperor had the word unfettered, which meant that his movement technique was very powerful. Otherwise, how could he be worthy of the word unfettered? Back when the unfettered Saint Sovereign was still a great emperor, he was hunted down by the demonic ancestor many times, but he survived every single time. From this, it could be seen how powerful his movement technique was. It was almost impossible for the scouts of the demonic abyss to discover him if he sneaked around, unless the demonic ancestor happened to be in the place where the carefree Saint Emperor passed by. However, the possibility of that happening was too small. If the unfettered Saint Emperor felt that something was amiss, he would retreat in advance. The unfettered Saint Emperor had been gone for more than half a year. He had successfully explored the 6 ancient battlefields, but he didn't find anything. Some of these ancient battlefields were still in the ruins. If the unfettered Saint Emperor hadn't broken through to the Saint Emperor realm, he wouldn't have been able to explore them so easily. There were some mysteries and treasures in these ancient battlefields, but they were definitely not what the demon abyss was looking for. Some of the treasures of the human race were also meaningless to the demonic abyss. There were some strange things in those ancient battlefields, but unfettered Saint Emperor felt that they were not what the demon abyss was looking for. The unfettered Saint Emperor continued to search. Regardless of whether there was anything special in these 13 ancient battlefields, he would still search through them all. If he couldn't find anything, then he would think about it. At the same time, the Flying Cloud City was also discussing this matter. Divine Ancestor Tion personally presided over it, and all the demon sovereigns were below him. The demon supremacies were all reporting at this moment. Sacred Ancestor Tion assigned the task to search the entire third heaven. Divine Ancestor, we have finished searching the 30 territories in the north of the Northern Plains continent. We found 14 ancient battlefields, but no targets. Divine Ancestor, we have finished searching the 35 territories in the southern part of the Northern Plains continent. We found nothing. Divine Ancestor, the Flying Fire continent, one by one, the demon sovereigns reported, but none of them found anything. Divine Ancestor Tion frowned. He looked at Qi Tianyu and asked, Tianyu, you've been studying for a long time. Have you found anything? Divine Ancestor Tion knew very well that it was difficult to find anything by relying on ordinary Demon Abyss scouts. After all, these ordinary Demon Abyss scouts had limited abilities and weren't particularly intelligent. They could only carry out orders mechanically and didn't know how to be flexible. Therefore, he had Qi Tianyu collect historical materials, analyze them, and make deductions. Feeling that all the demon sovereigns were looking at him, Qi Tianyu revealed a proud expression. He bowed and said, "Divine Ancestor Tian, I have been analyzing all kinds of situations and combining the historical materials I have collected. I have locked onto 35 locations. I don't have 100% confidence, but I should have 60% confidence. The place you are looking for should be one of them." "Oh." Divine Ancestor Tian's eyes flashed with a strange light. He nodded and said, "Well done. Since you have locked onto 35 locations, you will be in charge of this matter." Qin Gang, Qian Jing, and the rest of the younger generation listened to Tianyu's command. "Quickly search these 35 locations. If you can find what we want, you will be rewarded handsomely." "Understood." Although Qian Gang and the others were not convinced, they didn't dare to disobey Divine Ancestor Tian. The 18 demon sovereigns of the younger generation cupped their hands and accepted the order. Qi Tianyu led the 18 demon sovereigns away and assigned them tasks. After Qi Tianyu and the others left, one of the demon sovereigns couldn't help but ask curiously, "Divine Ancestor Tian, what are we looking for?" "Yes." Another demon sovereign couldn't help but ask, "You should at least give us a rough idea of what it is, right? Middle King realms are so big. Most importantly, millions of years have passed. Many ancient battlefields have been destroyed. It is too difficult to find something based on the information that there is an underground flame." Divine Ancestor Tian hesitated. After 5 minutes of silence, he said, "We are looking for a key. Once we find this key, we can open a door, and our race can truly soar." "Key?" All the demon sovereigns were stunned. They knew the key, but the problem was that the Middle King realms were so big. There were billions of keys. Who knew which key to look for? Moreover, the key could be easily destroyed. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. It was almost impossible. Qian Dagger said, "Divine Ancestor Tian, can you be more specific? This is not an ordinary key, right? Otherwise, it would have been destroyed a long time ago." "Key is just an adjective," Divine Ancestor Tian explained. "This is naturally not a real key. It is a treasure. As for what this treasure is, we do not know. However, if this treasure is placed in front of you, you will definitely find it extraordinary. This thing cannot be destroyed. Even if all the demon sovereigns join forces, they will not be able to destroy it. This thing cannot be refined. If you do not know the trick, you will not be able to move it." In addition, Divine Ancestor Tian added, "According to the notes left behind by our ancestors, the human race does not know what this thing is used for. One of our ancestors found this thing, but he did not have time to take it away. He set up a powerful divine formation and activated the killing formation in the ancient battlefields. Therefore, if I'm not wrong, this thing has not been discovered by the human race. I have gathered many historical records of the human race, but there are no relevant records. Therefore, we must find this ancient battlefields and find this sacred object. As for occupying the Middle King realms or not, that is not the main point. Do you understand?" Everyone understood. Attacking the Middle King realms was not the goal. Obtaining that sacred object was the ultimate goal. Qian Dagger thought about it and asked one last question. "Divine Ancestor Tian, what if that ancient battlefields are in the Purple Sun continent? If they cannot find it in all the continents, they would only be left in the Purple Sun continent. Right now, all the elites and formidable martial artists of the Third Heaven were gathered in the Purple Sun continent. Then we will attack and chase them out of the Purple Sun continent. If they do not leave, we will kill them all." Divine Ancestor Tian's eyes revealed a fierce look. He said in an extremely determined tone, "In order to obtain this sacred object, our race has sacrificed so many seniors. This time, we have suffered heavy casualties. This sacred object must be obtained at all costs. We must obtain this key. We must open that door." Chapter 2982. Saint Emperor Xiao Yao and Qi Tianyu led their people to search for some ancient battlefields. Saint Emperor Xiao Yao and Qi Tianyu found 13 places, and 7 of them coincided with Qi Tianyu's. Qi Tianyu divided the 18 demon sovereigns into 3 teams. He personally led one team, while Qian Gang and Qian Lu led the other. He had purposely arranged for Qian Jing to follow him. He wanted to have more opportunities to interact with Qian Jing. There were 3 teams of demon sovereigns, and each team had 6 demon sovereigns. Qi Tianyu told them not to enter if there was any danger. If they found anything strange, they should immediately send a message to him, and he would rush over as soon as possible. Qi Tianyu came from a big family. The Qi family was an ancient family. Qi Tianyu had heard a lot of secrets since he was young. He also knew some secrets that ordinary people didn't have the qualifications to know. They had also read the books in the Qi family's library, so they had some basic understanding of the major events that had happened in the third heaven over the past millions of years. Therefore, he believed that what the sacred ancestor Tian was looking for was definitely in these 35 locations. If it was not in these 35 places, it could only be in the purple sun continent, or it had already been moved elsewhere. Qi Tianyu and the others were not very anxious. After all, most of the third heaven had been occupied. The human race had retreated to the purple sun continent and no longer had the strength to counterattack. They could only hang on bitterly. The demon abyss had 4 demon ancestors and so many demon sovereigns. In terms of power, they had completely suppressed the human race. This was like 2 children fighting, and suddenly, a divine weapon appeared in the hands of the child. The disparity in strength was too great. On the other hand, the carefree Saint Emperor was very anxious. He used his fastest speed to investigate the dozen or so ancient battlefields. He didn't know what he was looking for, but he wanted to investigate all of these places to see if there was anything strange. Half a year passed by quickly. Sage Emperor Xiaoyao had successfully explored the 13 ancient battlefields. To his surprise, although there were many strange places in the 13 ancient battlefields, and many places had hidden treasures and dangers, he didn't find anything strange, or in other words, nothing useful to the demonic abyss. Many people had sifted through these 13 ancient battlefields one by one. There were also dark flames in many places, but they still couldn't find anything. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was a little confused. Was there something wrong with their analysis? Or was he not careful enough? Or, after millions of years, the thing that the demon abyss was looking for had already been spoiled? Sage Emperor Xiaoyao couldn't figure it out, and no one could give him an answer. He walked around and happened to see Qi Tianyu and the 6 demon sovereigns. His heart skipped a beat. Perhaps he could discover something by following them? Jiang Yi did not dare to kill these demon supremacies. If he did, the demon supremacies would definitely be enraged and send their armies to attack the purple sun continent. At that time, it would be the end of the human race. He believed that his movement technique was unparalleled in the world. He was a saint emperor, so these devil sovereigns couldn't detect his presence at all. Therefore, he quietly followed Qi Tianyu and the group of demon sovereigns. Qian Jing was very young, and her realm was very high. The other demon sovereigns were also very young. Needless to say, this group of demon sovereigns were the most elite disciples of the demon abyss. If they were secretly advancing, they would definitely be searching for the ancient battlefield. As expected, after following them for a few days, Qi Tianyu led a group of demon sovereigns to an ancient battlefield, which had already been searched by Saint Emperor Xiaoyao. There was nothing in this ancient battlefield. Qi Tianyu led a group of demon sovereigns to search around and soon came out. Then, they went to the nearby demon abyss and continued to search for other ancient battlefields. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao had nothing to do on his way back, so he simply followed them. Even if they teleported away, they wouldn't be teleported too far away. There must be some traces that he could follow. While the third heaven was searching for the ancient battlefield, the demon abyss was still quiet. The demon abyss had a strict hierarchy with different levels above each other. Nobody from the demon abyss dared to mess around. The sacred mountain was a little lively. The descendants of the royal family were looking forward to the good news from the Middle King realms day and night. After they completely occupied the Middle King realms, they would go there for a tour and get a piece of land or something. They would enslave billions of humans, and their days would be very comfortable. All the royal disciples had forgotten about Luli. Qingang and Luli had just finished cultivating in the heaven pool. The heaven pool needed 100 years to recover. Therefore, none of the royal disciples paid attention to the heaven pool. Almost all the important warriors had gone to the Middle King worlds. The only one left was the demon supremacies who had been in closed-door cultivation. He left many scouts to monitor the entire demon abyss. Therefore, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao did not pay much attention to the heaven pool. Due to a freak combination of factors, Luli had a free and unfettered life in the heaven pool. The water in the heaven pool used to be milky white. After half a year, Luli had been absorbing energy, and the water had become clear. At this rate, he could see the bottom of the heaven pool. In Li's Dharma realm, the purple smoke was getting thicker and thicker. The swirl of origin energy was spinning faster and faster. Li was absorbing energy from the heaven pool at a faster pace. Apart from that, there were no obvious changes in the Dharma realm. The only thing that seemed to be changing was the chains of order. The chains of order seemed to be stronger. Li wondered if the power of his attacks had increased. Later on, Li went back to closed-door cultivation. He was still cultivating. He had reached a critical moment, but Blood Fairy had woken him up. He was stuck in a bottleneck. The skill of soul could be mastered, but the time was uncertain. Nobody could tell how long it would take. Blood Fairy was excited. As the energy in the heaven pool was being absorbed, the formation in the heaven pool was weakening. That was a chance for Li. Originally, the heaven pool was a strong man. Blood Fairy could not do anything about it. Now, the strong man was beyond cure. He did not even have the strength to lift a chicken. It would be easier for Blood Fairy to control the heaven pool. Blood Fairy had been trying to control the formation. When she could control the formation, she would have the chance to control the entire holy mountain. By then, she could help Li get the treasure. Getting the treasure would not be of any benefit to her, but it would be of great help to Li. Blood Fairy was Li's spirit. She would be happy to do anything that was beneficial to Li. 3 months. Blood Fairy calculated. In 3 months, all the energy in the heaven pool would be absorbed. By then, the formation in the heaven pool would be weakened. That would be the best time for her to take action. During this time, Blood Fairy had some ideas. That being said, she did not dare to take any actions for fear that the formation would retaliate. She would have absolute confidence in 3 months. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the water of the heavenly lake had become extremely clear. It was like a mirror, and one could see the bottom of the lake at a glance. "Master," Blood Fairy called again, which startled Li, who was at a critical moment in his cultivation. Li was furious. He had finally calmed down and sped up, only to be interrupted again. He opened his eyes and fought back his anger. After a moment, he came back to his senses and asked, "Blood Fairy, what is it?" Blood Fairy replied excitedly, "Master, the formation in the heaven pool is at its weakest. I want to take control of the heaven pool. Once I do, something might go wrong. Are you sure you want me to do it?" Chapter 2983. Blood Fairy was about to take action. She told Li the pros and cons. After all, the pond was the core of the sacred mountain. If something were to happen to the pond, then the sacred mountain would be affected as well. By then, the powerful warriors of the sacred mountain would be alerted, and that Asmodean Lord would sense it at once. The advantage of taking action was that Li might be able to refine the pond and control the entire sacred mountain. With the sacred mountain, Li's abilities would be enhanced. He might even be able to fight against Saint Emperors. At the very least, Saint Emperors might not be able to kill him. Of course, this was just Li's speculation. He thought for a while and asked, "Blood Fairy, what do you think is the possibility of taking control of the pond? Also, what kind of changes would occur in the refining heavenly lake? I will have to face Asmodean Lord after I take control of the pond. Can the sacred mountain save my life?" Blood Fairy pondered for a moment before replying, "Master, I think there's a 60% chance of refining the celestial lake, but I don't know what will happen if I do." "Asmodean Lord?" I don't know exactly how strong Asmodean Lord is, but if you can take control of the sacred mountain, I think you can stay alive. Not even a dozen Saint Emperors working together can crack the mountain. Can't crack it? Luli was intrigued. If he could take control of the pond quickly, then he could use the sacred mountain to fend off Asmodean Lord's attacks, and he could survive. 60%. Blood Fairy had always been conservative. She would not say anything she was not sure of. If she said 60%, then it must be at least 70%. 70% was worth a gamble. Deal. Luli was determined. He had offended too many Asmodeans in the Asmodeans' abyss. If he could not improve, sooner or later, he would be in trouble. Cultivating in the pond for 10 years did not improve his abilities. The realm of Dharma had changed, but Luli did not think it had improved his abilities. What was more, he had killed 2 warriors from the Asmodean abyss. If this was exposed, he would be skinned alive, or at the very least alive. He had absorbed so much energy from the pond. Who knew if the pond would be in trouble? Therefore, he decided to take a gamble. If he could take control of the sacred mountain, he might be able to embark on a different path. Blood Fairy, do it! He shouted and flew out of the heavenly pool. He landed on the shore and sat down cross-legged. Then, he closed his eyes and activated the mark of the great path to sense everything around him. Blood Fairy dived to the bottom of the lake and began to forcibly take control of its core. This was the moment when the formation of Heaven's Pool was at its weakest and the best time to control it. If they missed this chance, Blood Fairy would not have another chance, and neither would Luli. Luli used the trace of Tao to sense everything at the bottom of the pond. He could tell that Blood Fairy was moving around like a dragon. Blood Fairy was surrounded by countless threads that looked like poisonous snakes. But those poisonous snakes were too weak to stop Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy was like a dragon crossing a river, roaring as she moved forward. Whoosh! The water in the pond was rippling. Luli was nervous as well. Blood Fairy's refining of the celestial pool had caused the divine formation of the celestial pool to vibrate, which in turn caused the celestial pool to behave strangely. Right now, the vibrations weren't that serious, but if they were to get bigger, the strong warriors of the demonic abyss would definitely be alerted. Hurry up, Luli prayed to himself. His hair was standing on end. He kept an eye on the surroundings, fearing that sacred ancestor Wang would suddenly come. He had to admit that Luli was lucky sacred ancestor Wang was cultivating. Since the celestial pool was a restricted area and it was in the recovery period, the bottom of the celestial pool was sealed off. No one from the imperial family could come in. No powerful warriors of the demonic abyss were paying attention to the celestial pool. At the moment, Luli was the only one above the celestial pool. Therefore, the ripples in the celestial pool did not alarm any powerful warriors of the demonic abyss. Of course, if the ripples were too strong, the sacred mountain would tremble, which would be needless to say. The ripples in the celestial pool were growing stronger. Blood Fairy was controlling the formation of Heaven's Pool by force. Since it was a formation from the divinity, it must have a spirit. Even though the formation was weak at the moment, it would not be willing to be controlled by Blood Fairy. Naturally, it would resist. Once it did, it would trigger the formation, which in turn would cause the ripples in the celestial pool. Splash, splash, splash. An hour later, the ripples in the celestial pool were getting stronger. Luli had an idea. He released a stream of airflow to suppress the ripples in the celestial pool. Good, this is good. Luli breathed in relief. He had sealed off the celestial pool so that it could not move. As a result, the ripples would not be so loud and the Asmodean Lord would not be alarmed. Luli had underestimated the situation. An hour later, Luli noticed that the surface of the celestial pool was trembling. It was slight, but he could feel it clearly. Oh no! Luli was taken aback. The ground around the celestial pool was shaking. He could not stop it now. As the ripples grew stronger, the entire sacred mountain would tremble. By then, the Asmodean Lord and the Asmodean Lord would notice something was wrong, even if they were a pig. Blood Fairy, how much longer? Luli asked at once. Blood Fairy did not reply. She was moving faster and faster at the bottom of the celestial pool. She was moving around like a bolt of lightning. Time moved on. The tremors on the ground were getting stronger. Luli was nervous. He knew that soon, some powerful warriors would notice something was wrong. Blood Fairy did not reply, which meant that she was at a critical moment. Every second was a race against time. It all depended on whether the Asmodean Lord could sense it in advance. No, the Asmodean Lord will sense it soon. I have to figure something out, Luli thought quickly. He came up with an idea. He lay on the shore and concealed his energy. His breathing became insignificant. At the same time, he shut off his senses and pretended that he was in a coma. He used a trace of Tao to sense the situation around him. In this way, even if some powerful warriors from the abyss of Asmodeans were to check, they would not be too concerned. Just as he had expected, for a dozen breaths after Lu Li pretended to be in a coma, a surge of psychic power suddenly came. Then, more than a dozen of psychic powers came. The weaker ones must be at the Asmodean Lord's level. Those psychic powers locked on to the celestial pool and then passed over Lu Li. But they did not linger on Lu Li for long. Eventually, they all stopped at Blood Fairy at the bottom of the celestial pool. Whoosh! With some noises, more than a dozen people flew up from the bottom. They were more than a dozen elders. They were the Asmodean lords that stayed to guard the celestial pool. That Asmodean lord did not come. Those Asmodean lords were in a state of panic. They did not pay attention to Lu Li. After all, Lu Li's energy was not strong. They had heard that there was a human that surrendered. What is this thing? How dare it come to the bottom of the celestial pool? Whatever it is, we cannot let it destroy the formation in the celestial pool. Patriarch 7, kill this thing. Yes, kill this thing now. If anything goes wrong, we will all be sinners of the abyss of sacred abyss. Several Asmodean lords shouted. One of them had a glowing vertical eye. He was about to use soul attack to kill Blood Fairy. Luli was nervous. Success or failure depended on this. At that moment, Blood Fairy suddenly said, "Master, come down to the celestial pool now." Chapter 2986. Why is this happening? Why is the sacred mountain flying up? What the hell happened? Almighty God, please come. Something is happening to the sacred mountain. Our sacred mountain is flying away. Sacred Ancestor Wang is up there. Why didn't he stop him? So many lords are up there. What are they doing? Good heavens! Why is this happening? All the members of the royal family were dumbfounded. They did not know why this was happening. The sacred mountain they lived in had left the ground and was now more than 100 feet in the air. Such a large mountain, a place that nurtured the Asmodeans, was flying up. It seemed that it was going to fly away. All the royal family members could see the sadness on sacred Ancestor Wang's face and the fear in the Asmodeans' eyes. Another 4 hours passed. The sacred mountain was now more than 1,000 feet in the air. Sacred Ancestor Guang and the Asmodeans had been attacking for 4 hours, but to no avail. They could not break the pond, nor could they hurt Lu Li. Right at that moment, Blood Fairy finally said, "Master, I have not let you down. I have the sacred mountain. Now I can control it." "Well done." Lu Li was overjoyed. He asked, "Is there any way to attack the sacred mountain? Kill this demon ancestor for me." "Yes," Blood Fairy said with certainty. But what she said next made Lu Li's smile freeze. "But I don't understand now. The formations here are too complicated. I need years to figure them out. All I can do now is to fly and defend." "Such a shame," Lu Li sighed. Then he felt troubled. He had not figured out how to get out during the past few hours. Anyhow, he must leave first and figure it out later. Lu Li asked, "Blood Fairy, can the sacred mountain shrink? If you can make it smaller, and then control it to fly west." "Yes," Blood Fairy said. Then the holy mountain trembled violently and shone with golden light. The holy mountain began to shrink at a rate visible to the naked eye. In just a few blinks of an eye, it had become the size of a human head. What? How is this possible? Almighty, sacred mountain, sacred mountain. Everyone was shocked. All the royal family members of the Asmodean Abyss were stunned. Such a huge, sacred mountain with a circumference of thousands of miles had actually become the size of a human head. An ugly black hole had appeared where the holy mountain used to be. It was like a scar on the surface of a human body. It looked exceptionally ugly. PFFF, sacred ancestor Guang's vision darkened, and he threw up a mouthful of blood. His body shuddered violently, and he nearly plummeted to the ground. Average members of the royal family might not know what this meant, but he did. The sacred mountain was under Lu Li's control, and the treasure of their race was taken by a human, sacred ancestor light. A few of the demon lords immediately flew over in a panic and surrounded sacred ancestor Guang in an attempt to help him up. Sacred ancestor of light waved his hand. He took a deep breath and wiped his mouth. He used psychic power to check on Lu Li. The sacred mountain was smaller, but it was a world of its own. Lu Li did not shrink. The inside of the sacred mountain was still spacious. After he locked on a Lu Li, he thought for a while and said, "Gonli, can I talk to you? As long as you leave the sacred mountain behind, you can have anything you want." Lu Li was still sitting in the pond. He grinned and said, "Can I have the Qianjing?" "Yes." Sacred ancestor Guang said yes without any hesitation. He could give Lu Li all the beauties of the royal family, let alone Qianjing. What were some beauties? After 100 years, there would be more beauties. Qianjing was a talent, yes, but the sacred abyss had no shortage of talents. As long as there was a pool, there would be more. "Is it okay if I ask you to commit suicide?" Lu Li asked again, "Is it okay if I ask all the evil ancestors to commit suicide?" "Yes, I can." Sacred ancestor Guang's reply surprised Lu Li again. He said, "It is okay if most of the evil ancestors of the sacred abyss commit suicide, as long as there is one evil ancestor left. I can even promise you that the armies of the sacred abyss will withdraw from the Middle King realms at once, and we will destroy all the passageways. These passageways took hundreds of thousands of years to open up. Don't worry, as long as the passageways are destroyed, the sacred abyss will not be able to attack the third heaven for at least hundreds of thousands of years." Lu Li was taken aback. He never expected that sacred ancestor Guang would offer such a generous offer. Only one evil ancestor and the others could commit suicide. Even the armies of the third heaven would be evacuated. Lu Li had underestimated the importance of the sacred mountain to the Asmodeans. The sacred mountain was more important than anything else. The death of sacred ancestor Guang and the others was not a big deal as long as the sacred mountain could produce more saint kings. Without the sacred mountain, the Asmodeans would gradually weaken until there were no more saint kings. Eventually, the Asmodeans would die out. Lu Li thought for a moment and said, "Let's talk about the negotiation later. I want to go to the third heaven. Clear the way for me and send me there, the Middle King realm." "No." The sacred ancestor didn't hesitate this time. "You can't go anywhere. I've already ordered all the passageways leading to the third heaven to be sealed. You want to leave the sacred abyss with the sacred mountain? That is not going to happen." Sacred ancestor Guang was not a fool. How could a sacred ancestor be a fool? He knew very well that once Lu Li reached the third heaven, the sacred mountain would become the sacred mountain of the third heaven. No matter what, the sacred mountain could not leave the sacred abyss. Lu Li could not come out anyway. Where could he go with the sacred mountain? So, there is no room for negotiation? Lu Li's tone was cold. He sneered and said, "Do you believe that I can make the sacred mountain explode? Do you believe that I can kill all the people of the Asmodeans with the sacred mountain? You can't." Sacred ancestor Guang told Lu Li with certainty. The sacred mountain cannot be destroyed. Even if you were 100 times stronger, you would not be able to do so, let alone now. You want to kill our people? If you dare to come out, we can kill you in an instant. So for your own good and for our own good, I think we should talk. Are you threatening me? Then let's not talk. Lu Li laughed. Then he said to Blood Fairy, "Take the sacred mountain and fly to the west." Buzzing, the sacred mountain trembled and then flew away in a blur. It was so fast that in an instant, it was already thousands of miles away. It must be 10 times faster than Asmodean. Sacred Ancestor Guang bellowed into the sky. His hair and beard were standing on end. He was filled with killing intent. His eyes were bloodshot. He was like a lunatic. The other members of the royal family dropped to their knees in fear, fearing that Sacred Ancestor Guang would tear them apart in a fit of rage. Phew. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Sacred Ancestor Guang finally calmed down. He closed his eyes to rest for a moment and said, "Qin Hu, go to the Central King region and ask the other sacred ancestors to come back. Don't say anything else. Just tell them that something has changed at the Sacred Mountain. Qian Gu, mobilize all the civilians to track down the Sacred Mountain. We must not let the Sacred Mountain disappear from our sight. Qian Shi, seal off an area with a radius of 300,000 miles. No civilians can go in or out." Sacred Ancestor Guang gave several orders. Then, he flew toward the west. Clearly, he was going after the Sacred Mountain. The remaining tens of thousands of Imperial family members were still prostrating on the ground, their faces filled with shock and panic. Countless Imperial family members stared at the black hole in the ground, unable to react. How could the Sacred Mountain that they had lived in for so long disappear just like that? Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Leaders Mobile Version. Chapter 2987. The Third Heaven had been peaceful recently. The demonic abyss was busy searching for the ancient battlefield, and the humans were busy setting up defensive lines and settling down their people. The Purple Sun continent was the smallest continent in the Third Heaven, but it was still very big. It was very difficult to set up a defensive circle, and it was even more difficult to set up powerful defensive divine patterns. If one wanted to set up an iron bucket in the Purple Sun continent, it would probably be impossible without dozens of years. Therefore, Immortal Tianzue chose to set up some crisscrossing defensive lines. This way, if the demonic abyss didn't understand the situation of the defensive lines, they would be blocked from all directions if they wanted to force their way in. The Purple Sun continent had been overcrowded recently. There were too many people, and it was inevitable that some disputes would occur, causing riots and panic. The competition for living space and resources could easily make the hearts of the humans extremely depressed. Once there was a big riot, it could cause countless people to go crazy. Immortal Tianzue sent many great emperors and subthearchs to oversee one area and calm the people. With these experts, the riots in the Purple Sun continent were quickly suppressed. Immortal Tianzue sent word that anyone who dared to come would be killed without mercy. After a group of people were killed in a few places, the Purple Sun continent temporarily calmed down. The demonic abyss sent out more scouts, again and again, searching the entire Third Heaven. At the same time, countless demon masters and demon supremacies were sent out to search. On the other side, Qi Tianyu commanded more than 10 demon supremacies to split into 3 teams to search the 35 ancient battlefields. At present, they had already searched more than 20 ancient battlefields and found nothing. Unfettered Divine Sovereign had been following Qi Tianyu and the others. With his ability, it was very easy for him to track them. Qi Tianyu led the team to search and had already searched more than 10 ancient battlefields, but found nothing. 5 days ago, Qi Tianyu brought a group of demon supremacies to an ancient battlefield. This was a relic, and Unfettered Divine Sovereign had never been here before. Previously, Unfettered Divine Sovereign deduced that this was not an ancient battlefield, or at least not one that had existed for millions of years. Therefore, he excluded this place. He followed Qi Tianyu and the others to investigate, and suddenly felt that something was wrong. This ancient battlefield was underground, and he found powerful divine patterns underground. There was a terrifying, killing formation underground. This wasn't just an ordinary level of terror. Even an ordinary overlord could be killed by it. Qi Tianyu and the others also discovered how terrifying this place was, and they brought a group of demon sovereigns underground. There was a very large underground palace, but many parts of it had collapsed. This place had existed for a very long time, and there was an ancient aura everywhere. Something's wrong. After carefully searching underground for more than 2 hours, Qian-Jing suddenly stopped. Her beautiful eyes were filled with surprise as she asked, "Did any sacred abyss experts come to investigate this place before?" Qi Tianyu thought for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I don't think so. This place is so far away from the headquarters. At most, only ordinary ascending abyss scouts have come here. There's a problem here," Qian-Jing said with certainty. "I can sense the residual aura of a sacred abyss powerhouse in the depths of this underground hall." Huh? All the demon sovereigns' eyes lit up with joy. Sacred Ancestor Tian had told them about the situation, saying that the sacred artifact was discovered by a powerhouse from the demon abyss. That powerhouse from the demon abyss had also set up a powerful formation. So the residual aura of a powerhouse from the demon abyss was very likely to be the place they were looking for. Qi Tianyu immediately led a group of formidable martial artists to investigate the place, breaking the killing formation and trying to break in. The killing formation here was very powerful. After searching for half a day, 2 demon sovereigns were almost killed and their souls were destroyed. In the end, Qi Tianyu knew a little about the formation and warned them in advance. That was how they managed to survive. "Does everyone feel the heat?" Qi Tianyu suddenly asked as they ventured tens of kilometers underground. Qian-Jing's beautiful eyes twinkled, and a trace of joy appeared on her face. She said, "It is indeed a little hot. Underground, there is dark fire. Killing formation, dark fire, the aura of a sacred abyss martial artist." Qi Tianyu murmured. He then said in a low voice, "This is probably the place that Sacred Ancestor Tian is looking for. Let's not go any deeper. With our strength, we won't be able to go in. We should send a message to the Sacred Ancestors and ask them to come here." Qian-Jing nodded slightly and said, "I also feel that it is very dangerous to go deeper. Let's inform the Sacred Ancestors." The rest of the demon sovereigns agreed. Qian-Jing took out a black jade talisman and poured demonic power into it. The black jade talisman immediately lit up with a dazzling black light. Formless ripples spread out, and the surrounding space began to fluctuate. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao, who was following behind, sensed it. His eyes lit up. It seemed that this place was probably the place that the demon abyss was looking for. They had all started to send messages to inform the demon ancestor. Strike first and gain the upper hand. This was the West Yuan continent, and there was no great demon puppet here. Therefore, it would take time for the demon ancestor to come here, at least 6 or 7 days. Therefore, as long as he could break the killing formation in these 6 or 7 days and take away the thing inside, the demon abyss's efforts would be in vain. As for how the demon abyss would react after taking away the thing, whether they would mobilize an army to attack, whether the human race would be finished, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao did not think that far ahead. He would think about it when the time came. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao rushed in from another direction. The killing formation here was very powerful. However, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was very strong. Some of the killing formations couldn't hurt him at all. He also released his strongest combat strength and rushed underground as fast as he could. An hour later, Qian-Jing frowned slightly and said with some surprise, "Did you guys feel it? There seems to be some movement underground." The rest of the demon sovereigns were not as strong as Qian-Jing. After being reminded, they quickly used their hearts to sense it. After a while, all the demon sovereigns' expressions changed slightly. There was indeed a movement underground. Although it was very far away, they could still feel a trace of it. They felt that it was very far away, but there was still a movement. What did this mean? It meant that someone was fighting underground. The killing formation was activated. The movement was so far away, and the movement was so strong. It meant that a powerhouse had entered the underground. The demon abyss's divine ancestor hadn't arrived yet. Ordinary demon sovereigns couldn't go so deep underground. There was only one possibility. A powerhouse of the human race had gone down. Qi Tianyu's eyes flashed, and he exclaimed, "I always had an inexplicable feeling recently. It was as if there was a pair of eyes watching us from behind. It turns out that a Saint Emperor of the human race is following us. Oh no, that Saint Emperor has made a move." If there is something underground, he might have taken it. Buzz. Qianjing took out another jade talisman. This jade talisman was dark red in color. There was a big word, Yuan, written on it. This was the protective talisman that divine ancestor Yuan gave to Qianjing. The dark red jade talisman shone for a moment. Then, the space here fluctuated. A vague figure appeared in the air. An old voice sounded, Jia, what happened? Greetings, divine ancestor Yuan. All the demon sovereigns knelt down immediately. Qianjing quickly reported, Ancestor, we might have found that ancient battlefield. This place is very suspicious. However, there is a movement underground. It is very likely that a saint emperor of the human race is following us. He has gone down early to take something. Divine ancestor Yuan's shadow suddenly became cold. He carefully asked about the details and the situation here. Then he said, Don't move. Just monitor the situation down there. We will come as soon as possible. Saint Emperor of the human race dares to come and take it. This time, we will make sure he stays here forever. Please remember this book's domain name. Third Sect Leader Mobile Version Website. Chapter 2988. Apart from Divine Ancestor Kong, who stayed behind, the rest of the Divine Ancestors all moved out. They teleported to the West Yuan continent as fast as they could and flew towards the ancient battlefield day and night. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was also breaking the killing formation as fast as he could. He knew very well that he had activated the killing formation, which would definitely attract the attention of Qi Tianyu and the group of demon ancestors. They would rush over as fast as they could. So, if he wasted too much time here, he would be easily caught by the demon ancestors. By then, he would probably die here. It didn't matter if he died, but he was afraid that the item here would fall into the hands of the demon abyss. The demon abyss had been trying to find this item, so it would definitely be of great significance to the demon abyss. However, the killing formation here was too powerful. It should have existed for millions of years, yet still had such power? It must have been set up by a super saint emperor. Millions of years ago, the realms above the fourth heaven collapsed, and countless experts swarmed into the third heaven. There were many saint emperors among them, and some of them had special abilities and abilities. The killing formation here should have been set up by one of them. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was furious and risked his life. He used all kinds of methods and rushed over without caring about injuries. His movement technique was unparalleled, and his combat power was also very strong. Even though it was difficult to move forward, he still moved forward and quickly rushed towards the deepest part of the ground. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. From the east of the ancient battlefield, 3 figures appeared. Saint Ancestor Yuan, Saint Ancestor Tian, and Saint Ancestor Yun, the 3 strongest experts of the demon abyss, rushed over as fast as they could. Under normal circumstances, it would have taken them at least 5 or 6 days to get here, but they spent 3. One could imagine how anxious they were. The 3 demon ancestors didn't rest and immediately rushed down, arriving near Qi Tianyu and the others in a short while. Qianjing and the others were shocked. They didn't expect them to come so quickly. Greetings, Saint Ancestors. The group of demon ancestors and Qi Tianyu immediately knelt down. Saint Ancestor Yuan looked at Qi Tianyu and nodded slightly. Qian Tianyu, you did well this time. You will be rewarded when we return. What's the situation now? A grateful expression appeared on Qi Tianyu's face as he kowtowed again and said, It's my duty to serve my sacred abyss. In reply to Sacred Ancestor Yuan, the human race's sacred emperor is still down there, and his movements are getting louder and louder. It is very possible that he is about to reach the central region below. The 3 sacred ancestors glanced at each other and no longer spoke. Instead, they began to sense the aura. After a while, anger appeared in the eyes of the sacred ancestor. His killing intent soared as he said, It's Xiaoyao. How dare you? You dare to snatch our things? Why don't we send a message to Hong Kong and ask him to lead an army to attack the Purple Sun continent? Sure, Divine Ancestor Yuan nodded slightly and said, "It's fine to teach the human race a lesson. Send a message to Hong Kong and have him lead an army to the Purple Sun continent to pressure them and teach them a lesson." A jade talisman appeared in Divine Ancestor Tion's hand, and it lit up. Then, invisible ripples spread out. "Go!" After a while, Divine Ancestor Yuan waved his hand and led Divine Ancestor Tion and Qianjing down. Qianjing's eyes lit up slightly. She also waved her hand and led a group of demon sovereigns to follow behind the three demon ancestors. The three demon ancestors did not say anything. With the three of them here, and this group of juniors were not weak either, they were not worried about anything happening here. It was good to let this group of juniors gain experience. With a few experts leading the way, it was easy to advance, and their speed was very fast. Although the killing formation here was powerful, the three sacred ancestors easily withstood it. The three sacred ancestors were very fast. They knew that they had to race against time. Otherwise, if the item was taken by the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor and he escaped, it would be troublesome. They advanced quickly, cutting through the thistles and thorns. The three sacred ancestors used their best skills and risked their lives. If they could get that treasure, it did not matter even if the three of them died here. Half a day. In just half a day, the group of Devil Abyss powerhouses had already arrived at the largest underground hall. It took the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor 3 days to get here. They also found where the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor was. He was in the inner hall. Most importantly, they felt the aura of the formation left behind by the Demon Abyss experts in the inner hall, which meant that the treasure was in the inner hall. The inner hall was very large, with a radius of about 1,000 miles. At the moment, the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor stood in the inner hall, surrounded by black chains that wrapped around him. A few miles ahead of him, there was a black stone box. The box had a radius of about 3 meters. Mysterious runes shone on the outside of the box, and there was also a faint golden airflow flowing around it. It was obviously a treasure. If the box was so powerful, what was inside? The Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor was sure that inside the box was what the Demon Abyss was looking for. Therefore, he was very eager to go over, open the box, and get what was inside. Oh no! Sensing the powerful auras outside, the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor sighed inwardly. The Demon Abyss experts had come too quickly. If he had another half a day, he should have a chance. Let's do it. The Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor gritted his teeth. His body shone with blood-red light. He burned his sacred blood, and his aura instantly grew several times stronger. He broke free of the black chains that wrapped around him easily. He tried his best to walk forward. With every step, more blood flowed out of his mouth. The killing formation here was too powerful. Even he was being suppressed. It didn't look like much, but his soul was tainted inside, and he was constantly being attacked by the killing formation. It would be fine if he didn't move, but once he moved, he would have to endure the powerful attacks. Creak! After he walked for more than 1 mile, the door behind him opened. Sacred Ancestor Yuan and Sacred Ancestor Yin walked in, followed by Qi Tianyu, Qianjing, and the others. When the Demon Abyss experts walked in, they immediately locked their eyes on the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor. Then, they all looked at the black stone box. That's the box. The eyes of Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the other two lit up frighteningly bright. They all felt relieved. The Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor was very close to the stone box, but it wouldn't matter even if he took it. With the 3 sacred ancestors here, they were confident that they could kill the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor today. Emperor Xiaoyao? Qi Tianyu looked at the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor with murderous intent. He had no grudge against the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor. But the Xiaoyao Sacred Emperor was close to Lu Li and was one of Lu Li's backers. Anyone related to Lu Li, Qi Tianyu would find a way to kill. Xiaoyao, Sacred Ancestor Tian snorted and said with strong killing intent, "You have escaped several times before. Let's see how you can run away this time. We were thinking of letting you humans go, but since you are so stubborn, we will teach you a lesson. The suffering that humans are going through is all because of your stupidity. How dare you to take something from us? Courting death." Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Leaders Mobile Version. Chapter 2989. Huh. Unfettered sage, Sovereign chuckled. Blood was still flowing from his mouth. He continued forward while looking back at sacred ancestor Tion and said, "Your clan's item? Do you have any shame? Where's this place? This is our king realm. Haven't you seen this underground killing formation before? Did your clan set it up? It's understandable for you to come here and steal from us, but you're shameless to say it's your clan's item." Sacred ancestor Tion's eyes were spitting fire, mainly because there were so many juniors here and he couldn't refute. He could only snort and say, "Keep talking nonsense. Let's see how you die later." Ha ha ha. Unfettered sage Sovereign laughed and said, "I didn't think about living after coming here. I came here to destroy this thing. I don't know what it is, but since you want it so badly, I will destroy it." With that, Unfettered sage Sovereign didn't look at them anymore. His aura fluctuated as he walked toward the stone box. Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the three sacred ancestors. They attacked without hesitation. The three sacred ancestors attacked with shocking power. One sacred ancestor stabbed out a black spike, a sacred lord slapped out a huge palm, and a sacred lord released a finger wind. The attacks of the three sacred lords were frightening. Qi Tianyu and the others felt their souls palpitate and their bodies tremble. A demon lord even took 3 steps back. Unfettered sage Sovereign ignored the attacks and continued forward. What shocked Qi Tianyu and the others was that the attacks of the 3 Saint Emperors were quickly neutralized. After advancing for a few miles, they actually disappeared. The divine formation here is so powerful. The 3 sacred ancestors looked at each other and sighed inwardly. They already had some idea of what was going to happen. Unfettered sage Sovereign was having a hard time moving forward. This part of the road wasn't far, but it wouldn't be easy. "Let's go." The 3 sacred ancestors shouted at the same time and turned into shadows that floated forward. Just as they had expected, the 3 of them were jolted out of the room. They all felt a terrifying gravitational force suppressing them. Moreover, a formless power started to attack their souls and bodies. Sacred Ancestor Yuan was fine, but Sacred Ancestor Tian and Sacred Ancestor Yun felt the pressure increase. They were also injured. Although the injuries were not serious, they were still shocking. They were sacred ancestors, yet the killing formation here could actually injure them instantly. Divine Ancestor Yuan was the strongest among them, so he was not injured at all. He strode forward, and Qian Jing and the others wanted to follow him, but Divine Ancestor Tian shouted, "Stop! Don't move, or you will die." Qian Jing and the others were shocked. They all stood rooted to the ground. Some of the demon sovereigns even took a few steps back. They soon realized that something was wrong. After walking a few dozen steps, Sacred Ancestor Yin suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. So powerful, everyone looked at the space around them. There was nothing in this space, not even a ripple. Who knew where this attack came from? This was the first time they had seen such a divine formation. It was unbelievable. On the other side, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao walked toward the stone box step by step. Blood kept gushing out of his mouth, and his face was as pale as snow, like a piece of white paper. His footsteps were a little unsteady, but he still walked forward step by step. Seeing that Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was getting closer and closer to the stone box, Divine Ancestor Yuan and the others' faces turned ugly. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao had no use for this item. He did not know how to use it, either. However, it was not a good thing to fall into his hands. There might be many variables. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao finally arrived near the stone box. He held the stone box with one hand and turned to look at the 3 sacred ancestors who were walking toward him quickly. Blood was still flowing out of the corner of his mouth. He breathed in deeply and revealed a faint smile. He looked at the 3 sacred ancestors and said, "Don't move. Otherwise, I might be afraid of death and destroy this stone box in a moment of excitement. That would not be fun." "Destroy?" Divine Ancestor Tian sneered and said, "Why don't you try to destroy one?" The ancestor of the sacred item had left a message that it could not be destroyed. Therefore, they were not worried that the sacred item would be destroyed. Is that so? Saint Emperor Xiaoyao grinned as a black ball appeared in his hand. He grinned and said, "If I blow up a hole in the space here and then push this stone box into spatial turbulence, would you have a chance of finding it?" The three sacred ancestors stopped, their eyes revealing a sliver of panic. If that really happened, they would never be able to find this stone box again. They knew the item in Saint Emperor Xiaoyao's hand. It was called the Heaven Extinguishing Stone. It had once caused divine ancestor Tian to suffer greatly and was almost blown to death. The space here was strange, but if this Heaven Extinguishing Stone exploded, it should not be a problem to blow up a hole in the space. When that happened, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao could casually send this stone box into the spatial turbulence. Why was the spatial turbulence called turbulence? That was because the space inside was very chaotic. Once this stone box entered it, it would probably be swept to an unknown place instantly. The entire Great World was so big, it was almost impossible to find a stone box in the spatial turbulence. They had spent so much effort and sacrificed so many demon abyss race members. Why? It was all for the stone box. Occupying the Middle King domain was just a matter of convenience. If they could not get this stone box, all their years of planning and effort would go down the drain. Divine Ancestor Tian and the Cloud Life race members revealed a sliver of panic in their eyes. Divine Ancestor Yuan's eyes, however, were as calm as the lake. He pondered for a moment, sneered, and said, "Han Tian, Han Yun, bring them out immediately. After you meet up with Hong Kong, lead the army and flatten the Purple Yang continent for me. Kill every living being there." "All right." Divine Ancestor Tian and Divine Ancestor Yun exchanged a look. Both of them understood what Yuan Divine Ancestor meant. Since Saint Emperor Xiaoyao could not threaten them, they would use the billions of people of the Purple Yang continent to threaten him. If he dared to push the stone box into the spatial turbulence, they would dare to kill all the humans of the Purple Yang continent. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao's expression changed. Seeing Divine Ancestor Tian and Divine Ancestor Yun retreating slowly, he thought for a moment and said, "If you want the stone box, I can. You have to leave the Middle King domain. If not, I would rather perish together. After all, the Middle King domain cannot be defended. You have no right to negotiate with us." Divine Ancestor Yuan said coldly, "If you leave now, I can guarantee that I will not attack the Purple Yang continent for 10,000 years. If you don't leave, I will let them lead the army and flatten the Purple Yang continent. Do you think that I won't be able to find you after you enter the spatial turbulence? I will chase after you immediately. There's an 80% chance of finding the stone box. Do you believe that? You have two choices. Choose for yourself." Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Masters mobile version. Chapter 2990. The Unfettered Saint Emperor didn't want to choose either of these two options. The first option didn't have much meaning. What could the humans achieve in 10,000 years? They were all squeezed within the Purple Yang continent and didn't have many resources. Survival was already a problem, not to mention development. Just the Purple Yang continent alone wouldn't even produce a few overlords in 10,000 years, let alone an emperor. On the other hand, the demonic abyss had occupied such a large territory of the humans and obtained so many resources. They would become stronger and stronger. At that time, the humans would be like fish on the chopping board. The demonic abyss could kill and slaughter them as it pleased. He wasn't willing to choose the second option either. The defense line in the Purple Yang continent definitely hadn't been set up yet. Even if it was set up, so what? How many demonic ancestors could they stop? The unfettered Saint Emperor hesitated and was in a dilemma. At that moment, two beams of silver light lit up in Sacred Ancestor Yuan's eyes and instantly appeared in front of the unfettered Saint Emperor. The distance was too close. The unfettered Saint Emperor was thinking about something and didn't react in time. Two beams of silver light shot into the unfettered Saint Emperor's head. The unfettered Saint Emperor was very strong, but Sacred Ancestor Yuan was even stronger. After Sacred Ancestor Yuan made his move, the other two Sacred Ancestors opened their vertical eyes. Two soul attacks shot out at the same time and entered the unfettered Saint Emperor's head. Great! Qianjing and the others cheered. Three Sacred Ancestors attacked at the same time. Although the soul attacks of Sacred Ancestor Tian and Sacred Ancestor Yun weren't strong, Sacred Ancestor Yuan's soul attack was very strong. How could the unfettered Saint Emperor, who had just broken through to the Sacred Emperor realm, withstand the soul attacks of three Sacred Ancestors at the same time? On the other side, the unfettered Saint Emperor was indeed unable to withstand it. Powerful energy was swimming in his soul like flood dragons. The demon soul in his soul was struggling to hold on. If he didn't know some soul defense divine techniques, his soul would have been destroyed. He quickly swallowed an elixir, and his soul immediately flourished, barely blocking the three soul attacks. However, he could only block them. It was difficult for him to do anything else. If he was distracted, his soul might be in big trouble. Let's go. Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the other two Sacred Ancestors exchanged glances, and the three Sacred Ancestors walked toward unfettered Sacred Emperor. At the same time, the three of them continuously released soul attacks, so that unfettered Sacred Emperor had no time to react. 3 Li, 2 Li, 1 Li. The eyes of the three Saint Emperors lit up. As long as they got closer, they would be able to kill Saint Emperor Carefree with ease. The group of demon sovereigns behind him were also extremely excited. They were about to kill the unfettered Saint Emperor. It didn't matter whether they killed him or not. The most important thing was to obtain that supreme treasure. At that moment, the heaven-destroying rock in Saint Emperor Xiao Yao's hand lit up. His eyes were ferocious as he roared. Try taking another step forward. Step back. The three Saint Emperors stopped. Divine Ancestor Yuan looked annoyed. There was only 1 mile left. Saint Emperor Xiao Yao had just made a breakthrough, but he didn't expect his soul to be so strong. He was actually able to withstand the soul attack of the three Sacred Ancestors, and he was even able to divert his attention to control the heaven-destroying stone. Back off. Divine Ancestor Yuan gritted his teeth and waved his hand. The three Saint Emperors slowly retreated. They did not dare to release their soul attacks. Saint Emperor Unfettered's eyes were bleeding. He panted heavily and waited for the time for half an incense stick to burn before saying, "Is there a third option? If not, why don't we all perish together? Don't even think about getting it." Saint Emperor Xiao Yao made up his mind. He was betting that the three Sacred Ancestors wouldn't dare to act recklessly. They were so desperate to get this thing. It must be of great importance to them, even more important than occupying level 3 heaven. Divine Ancestor Yuan was silent. For them, this thing was indeed more important than level 3 heaven. If they could get this thing, they would have a key to enter a magical place. Their race would be transformed and they would truly soar. If they could get the level 3 heaven, though rich in resources, it would only make their race stronger. It wouldn't help them soar. It wouldn't be very meaningful. But Divine Ancestor Yuan was not stupid. If they took a step back, the unfettered Saint Emperor would climb up the pole. Therefore, they couldn't let the unfettered Saint Emperor threaten them. Otherwise, they wouldn't get the thing or the Middle King realm. They would lose both the territory and the treasures. Divine Ancestor Yuan thought for a moment and said, "How about we each take a step back?" Saint Emperor Xiao Yao frowned and said, "How can we both take a step back? Make it clear." Divine Ancestor Yuan said, "If you give us the thing, we can make a chief god blood oath that we won't attack you in 100,000 years. In addition, we can return the chilly winter continent to you. How about that?" Divine Ancestor Yuan's negotiation skills were superb. In fact, he didn't have a problem returning most of the level 3 heaven to the human race, as long as he kept the Northern Plains continent. But this wasn't the way to negotiate. Therefore, he threw out a bait and waited for the unfettered Saint Emperor to take the bait. If the unfettered Saint Emperor wavered, the following negotiation would be easier. As the supreme ruler of the demonic abyss, Divine Ancestor Yuan was shrewd and ruthless. The unfettered Saint Emperor was indeed tempted. If he could get the two continents and have 100,000 years to recuperate, the human race would have infinite possibilities. Immortal Tianzue once said that there might be changes in 100 years. 100,000 years meant that there were limitless possibilities. Under the enormous pressure, the human race might rise to prominence. Perhaps a peerless powerhouse would appear within 100,000 years. Of course, the unfettered Saint Emperor was only tempted for a moment. Soon, he made up his mind and said, "It's impossible. If you don't leave the Middle King realms, you won't get it. If you think you can get it from the space turbulence, you can try. You'll be lucky if you can get it. Without the Middle King realms, we will die sooner or later. It's better to die earlier than later." The unfettered Saint Emperor was not stupid. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reached the Saint Emperor level. He felt that this was an opportunity. Maybe he could solve the problem once and for all with the help of this treasure. If the demonic abyss left the Middle King realms, he could give it to them. Han Tian, Divine Ancestor Yuan, waved his hand and winked at Divine Ancestor Tian. Divine Ancestor Tian immediately retreated. This place was strange. It was difficult to move forward, but much easier to retreat. In a few blinks of an eye, Divine Ancestor Tian had retreated to the gate. The unfettered Saint Emperor kept his eyes on the three divine ancestors. If they dared to mess around, he wouldn't mind dying together with them. But he was less nervous when he saw that Divine Ancestor Tian only retreated to the gate. Swish! Divine Ancestor Tian's hands suddenly turned into sharp claws. He grabbed at the space. The space at the gate was not suppressed by the formation. He tore it apart easily. In a flash, Divine Ancestor Tian went into the void. Swish! Swish! The unfettered Saint Emperor's expression changed. Divine Ancestor Tian's intention was too obvious. He had entered the void earlier and stayed in the nearby void. Even if the unfettered Saint Emperor used the heaven-destroying stone to blast a hole in the space and push the stone box into the void, Divine Ancestor Tian would still have a good chance of stopping the stone box. Ha ha ha! Divine Ancestor Yuan laughed out loud. His mouth was full of mockery. He said coldly, "Xiaoyao, you have no other choice now, but I can still give you a chance. You can try to send the stone box into the space turbulence. Then we can slaughter all the humans in the Purple Sun continent. Or I can give you the chilly winter continent and the Purple Sun continent and not attack you for 100,000 years. Then you can give us the stone box now." Divine Ancestor Yuan was very smart. Even though he had the absolute advantage, he still offered generous terms. That was how smart he was. Baidu searched the Cloud Coming Pavilion website and let you experience the latest and fastest novel updates. All the novels were updated in seconds. Chapter 2991. Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao was in a dilemma. He was hesitating. Sacred Ancestor Yuan was already in control of the situation. If he continued to insist, he would incur the wrath of Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the others. Then, the human race of the Purple Yang continent would not be able to survive. Buzz! Sacred Ancestor Yuan's vertical eye opened for the first time. Previously, his eyes shot out silver light. This time, he directly opened his vertical eye. This was the innate mystical ability of the demon abyss race. Of course, only a portion of the race possessed it. Swish! A beam of black light shot into Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao's glabella. Sacred Ancestor Yin also shot out a beam of black light. At the same time, the two of them sped up, trying their best to increase their speed. Sacred Ancestor Yuan did not like to put his fate in the hands of others. Therefore, his previous negotiations were actually a delaying tactic. Of course, if his arrangements did not work out, then negotiations were also one of his methods. He liked to do things on several fronts at the same time. That way, he could ensure that nothing went wrong. Great! Qian Jing and the others cheered loudly. They were deeply impressed by Sacred Ancestor Yuan. His wisdom was outstanding, and his bravery was unparalleled. On the other side, Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao was already seriously injured. Now that he was suddenly attacked again by sacred ancestor Yuan's innate mystical ability, his soul spirit could not take it anymore. He could not control the heaven-extinguishing stone, even if he wanted to. "It's over," Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao sighed in his heart. He knew that he was not the only one who was finished. The human race of the Purple Yang continent might also be finished. Perhaps in a few years, the Purple Yang continent would be breached. At that time, the human race would have to evacuate as much as they could. Where could they go after evacuating? Even if many people escaped, they would be rootless duckweeds after losing the King realms. If they wanted to rise again in the future and counterattack, it would be almost impossible. "Even if I die, I will not let you have it so easily." Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao's mind was filled with this thought. The muscles on his face twisted. Then he actually ignored the attack in his soul spirit and activated the heaven-extinguishing stone in his hand. "How dare you?" Sacred Ancestor Yuan was furious. His glabella released another beam of black light, attacking Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao continuously. Although Sacred Ancestor Tian had gone to the void, who could guarantee that he would be able to get the stone box? Boom! The unfettered Saint Emperor was furious. He ignored the soul attack and continued to activate the heaven-destroying stone. The stone shone with a frightening brightness. Then, a powerful force expanded and a terrifying aura spread out, making Qi Tianyu and the others outside feel oppressed. Buzz! At the same time, a layer of golden light barrier appeared around the unfettered Saint Emperor. This was his powerful defensive divine technique. He did not want to be blasted to death by the heaven-destroying rock. He also wanted to escape from death once, and that was to let the space here explode and then rush into the void himself. Then, something that shocked Sage Emperor Xiaoyao and all the powerhouses of the Demon Abyss happened. Before the aftermath of the explosion of the heaven-destroying stone could expand, the runes on the stone box suddenly lit up. Then, a golden light quickly lit up, enveloping the space within a radius of several meters. Then, there was no then. The explosion of the heaven-destroying stone was immediately annihilated. There were no fluctuations at all, as if there had never been an explosion. All that was left was a golden light shield that flickered incessantly. "Ha ha!" Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the others burst into laughter. Was the unfettered Saint Emperor trying to take them down with him? They did not expect this stone box to have such a powerful ability. It actually suppressed the explosion of the heaven-destroying stone. A divine item was indeed a divine item. It could not be destroyed. This time, the three sacred ancestors were completely relieved. They looked at the unfettered Saint Emperor as if he was a dead man. "Go to hell." Sacred Ancestor Yuan's glabella shot out a beam of black light again. The unfettered Saint Emperor's soul spirit was already injured. It was estimated that the unfettered Saint Emperor would be finished after a few more soul spirit attacks. What shocked the three sacred ancestors and the unfettered Saint Emperor was that the soul spirit attack of Sacred Ancestor Yuan was blocked by the shield. His soul spirit attack disappeared immediately. It could not penetrate the shield at all. Swish, swish. Sacred Ancestor Yuan and Sacred Ancestor Yin did not believe it. They released their soul spirit attacks again, but they were also blocked by the shield. The soul spirit attacks were illusory, but they were still blocked? Was this shield so magical? Ha ha ha. This time, it was the unfettered Saint Emperor's turn to laugh. Inside the shield, he could clearly feel the power of the shield. Let's see how long the shield can last. If it could last forever, the three sacred ancestors would never get their hands on this divine item. Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the others did not believe it and continued to attack, but to no avail. The two sacred ancestors looked serious. They stopped releasing soul spirit attacks and quickly walked toward the shield. They were ready to use their powerful attacks to break the shield. Soon, the two sacred ancestors arrived at the shield in the time it took for a few incense sticks to burn. The two sacred ancestors also began to attack fiercely. Although there was a powerful array suppressing this place, the space still shook violently. However, What shocked the two Saint Emperors was that their attacks could not break the shield. Not to mention breaking the shield, there was no fluctuation. How is this possible? Qian Jing and a group of demon supremacies were dumbfounded. Sacred Ancestor Yun's battle strength was not particularly strong among the Sacred Ancestors, but Sacred Ancestor Yuan was the strongest in the Devil Abyss. How powerful was Sacred Ancestor Yuan? None of the demon supremacies dared to imagine and measure it. Now, Sacred Ancestor Yuan's attack could not break the shield. It was too unreal. What kind of shield could block an attack from Sacred Ancestor Yuan? They had no choice but to believe it. Sacred Ancestor Yuan did not release the first attack. At the moment, he was continuously releasing attacks, but still could not break the shield. They could not help but feel shocked. What kind of powerful divine item is in here? Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao was also dumbfounded. He was experienced and knowledgeable, but he had never heard of such a magical thing. This was the stone box on the outside. What was inside? It was unimaginable. Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao was sure of one thing. This thing was definitely not from the third heaven. Even the strongest sacred weapon was not so powerful. Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao knew how powerful Sacred Ancestor Yuan was. Even the protective array of the strongest city in the third heaven could not withstand more than a few attacks from Sacred Ancestor Yuan. Millions of years ago, worlds above the fourth heaven collapsed. At that time, countless experts came to the third heaven. Therefore, Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao guessed that this thing could be a divine item above the fourth or fifth heaven. Otherwise, it cannot be so powerful. I don't know how long the shield can last. Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao prayed secretly. Any shield needed energy to support it. This stone box had been here for millions of years. Who knew how much energy was left in it? What if it could not last long? Boom! 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 Sacred Ancestor Yuan and Sacred Ancestor Yun attacked continuously for more than 2 hours. However, there was still no reaction from a shield. Not only did it not change color, but it also did not fluctuate. Ha ha! Sacred Emperor Xiaoyao laughed. After more than 2 hours, his injuries had recovered a little. Although he was trapped inside and could not get out, he felt inexplicably happy when he saw the exasperated expressions of Sacred Ancestor Yuan and Sacred Ancestor Yin outside. P.S. I have something to do. For chapters tomorrow, Baidu search the novel website of Yunlai Pavilion. You can experience the latest and fastest novel chapters. All the novels are updated in seconds. Chapter 2992. 8 Days. The two divine ancestors attacked for 8 days. Not only did the shield not break, but it didn't even tremble or change color. It was like a tortoise shell. The two divine ancestors had become children. The tortoise shell couldn't be broken no matter how hard they attacked. Outside, Qi Tianyu and Qian Jing were already numb from the shock. They also felt that there were countless secrets in the great world. Divine Ancestor Tian said that the Demon Abyss tribe couldn't even be ranked in the top 100 in the great world. However, the two sacred ancestors had no intention of giving up. They were well aware that all barriers had their own energy. The relic was very strong. The problem was that it had been here for millions of years. No matter how much energy was stored in it, they must have consumed a lot of it after attacking it for so long. Besides, they had nothing to do. The relic was the most important thing. They wouldn't stop even if they attacked it for 800 years, let alone 8 days. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao's body had recovered, but the injury to his soul needed time to recover. It would take at least a few months. The two divine ancestors attacked outside for 8 days, but Saint Emperor Xiaoyao could only sit inside. Was he going to attack the shield together with them? In the next few days, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao began to study the stone box. If he could control this stone box and refine the relic in it, his combat strength might soar. He would definitely be able to suppress the two divine ancestors. Although he looked young and handsome, he was actually an old monster who had lived for countless years. He had a deep understanding of divine glyphs, so he wanted to understand the divine glyphs on the stone box. Unfortunately, it had been 7 or 8 days. He couldn't even understand the divine glyphs here, let alone understand them. He had a deep understanding of primordial divine glyphs. Unfortunately, the divine glyphs here were not primordial divine glyphs. They were divine glyphs that he had never seen before. He was very shocked. Another 3 days passed. Divine Ancestor Yuan and Divine Ancestor Yun were overjoyed, but Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was shocked. The color of the shield became a little lighter. Although it was only a little lighter, it meant that the shield could be broken. That was not a problem. The only problem was that the shield didn't change at all. Qi Tianyu and the others were also very excited. As long as they could break through the barrier, then Saint Emperor Xiaoyao would definitely die, and the sacred object would also be easily obtained. Then, the demon abyss would be able to soar. As the devil abyss soared, they looked down on the Middle King realms. Qi Tianyu could also become the representative of the devil abyss in the Middle King realms and become the supreme overlord of the Middle King realms. Saint Emperor Unfettered no longer cared about the situation outside. He began to focus on deciphering the stone box. If the heaven-destroying stone couldn't break through the space here, then he had no way to escape. His only hope of survival was to decipher the stone box and refine the sacred object inside. Qin Wentian didn't attack the stone box. From the strength of the stone box, he could tell that it was impossible to break it open with brute force. He could only break the inscriptions engraved on the stone box. If he couldn't break the inscriptions, he would never be able to retrieve the saint treasure in his lifetime. Time passed day by day, and the barrier kept dimming. Although the dimming speed was very slow, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao and the two divine ancestors could clearly sense it with their senses. 2 to 3 months. At most, the barrier would be broken in 2 to 3 months. At that time, everything would be settled. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao would die, and the saint treasure would fall into the hands of the devil abyss. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was very anxious. He thought of many ways, but he couldn't even move the stone box, let alone decipher the inscriptions and open the stone box. This stone box was too powerful. It was unimaginably powerful. Outside, Qian Jing and the other devil sovereigns and Qi Tianyu didn't cultivate. They sat cross-legged at the entrance and waited quietly. They wanted to witness this epic-making event for the devil abyss. They didn't attack because they couldn't get close to the stone box with their combat strength. The two divine ancestors didn't stop to rest. At the same time, Divine Ancestor Yun used a secret method to send a message to Divine Ancestor Tian, asking him to return. Swish! After another 5 days, a sky-piercing sound came from the grand hall outside. Divine Ancestor Tian had returned. He tore open the space and entered the third heaven. However, he didn't appear here. He rushed over with his fastest speed. Great! Qian Jing and the others cheered. With Divine Ancestor Tian's help, the time needed to break the shield would be greatly reduced. With the 3 divine ancestors here, even if perfected Tianzue rushed over, he wouldn't be able to turn the situation around. The outcome was set. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was already in despair. He hadn't given up yet. With Divine Ancestor Tian's help, the time needed to break the shield would be reduced by half. At most, it would be broken in a month. Xiaoyao, stop wasting time. Back then, one of our divine ancestors tried to decipher this saint artifact for 10 whole years and still couldn't break it. Our ancestors' attainment in divine patterns was very high. You can't even break it in 100 years. Xiaoyao, you're also a formidable person. Why don't you join our sacred abyss? We'll give you the same treatment as us. You'll still be in charge of the human race. How about that? That's right, Xiaoyao. If you join us, we can guarantee that you won't kill a single human for no reason. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for your race. The 3 divine ancestors started to instigate defections. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was indeed a talent. They also needed the human race to help them collect and cultivate all kinds of resources. Low-grade Devil Abyss race members wouldn't do such a thing. If they were asked to dig for ores, they would probably destroy the mines. Ridiculous. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao replied mockingly. Do you think I'm such a spineless person? Shut up, all of you. Don't waste your breath. Ha ha. Divine Ancestor Tion laughed and said, "Didn't the human race have a peerless talent? I heard that you thought highly of him. Didn't he join our sacred abyss race as well? He is still cultivating on our sacred abyss mountain. Oh, I forgot to tell you. His name is Qianli now, not Lu Li. He is going to marry a royal member of our sacred abyss race and start a family here. Didn't he have a backbone before? Why did he join us?" Saint Emperor Xiaoyao's face darkened. He trusted Lu Li, but after hearing what Divine Ancestor Tian said, he was a bit shaken. Did Lu Li really surrender? Saint Emperor Xiaoyao didn't pay attention to them anymore. The three divine ancestors stopped talking and focused on attacking the shield. Time flew by quickly. Soon, more than 20 days had passed. The shield was as thin as a piece of paper. It could be cracked at any time. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao and the three divine ancestors believed that in half a month at most, the shield would be cracked. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao was in more despair. He had been trying for a long time, but to no avail. He could not open the stone box, at least not in a short period of time. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, 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 boom. An hour later, they heard some noises coming from the hall and some noises of formations of destruction. The three divine ancestors frowned. Someone was coming. Was it a mortal Tianzue? No, they are from our race. Divine Ancestor Yuan tried to sense and said with doubt, "Qian Dagger and Qianhu? Isn't Qianhu staying at the Sacred Abyss? Why are they here? Han Tian, bring them in." Divine Ancestor Tian was surprised as well. Qian Jing and the others were even more shocked. Divine Ancestor Tian went out quickly and brought Qianhu and Qian Dagger in a moment later. As soon as Qianhu came in, he knelt on the ground, looked at Divine Ancestor Yuan, and said, "Divine Ancestors, go back now. Something is wrong at the Sacred Mountain. That hateful human bastard has taken the Sacred Mountain away. Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Master's mobile version." Chapter 2993. What? As soon as Qianhu finished his words, the three sacred ancestors were confused. They thought they had heard it wrong. The three of them looked at each other and realized that they had heard it right. They were even more confused. Qi Tianyu and Qian Jing were confused as well. They did not understand what Qianhu meant. Move the sacred mountain away? Was the sacred mountain the one they lived in? What did he mean by it was moved away? Lu Li moved the mountain away? Was Qianhu out of his mind? Sacred Ancestor Yun asked, "Qianhu, make it clear. What are you talking about?" That human, Qianli," Qianhu said, flustered and exasperated. He was messing around in the heaven pool, and then the entire sacred mountain flew away. In the end, he took control of the sacred mountain and flew away. Sacred Ancestor Guang went after him. He asked me to tell you that you should go back at once. What? The three sacred ancestors turned pale with fright, and Qian Jing and the others all stood up with expressions of disbelief. What was the sacred mountain? It was the center of the sacred abyss, where all the powerful royal families lived. There was a heaven pool, the core of the abyss of demons, the sacred pool that nurtured the entire abyss of demons. How could the sacred mountain fly away? Or was it controlled by a human? Why does this feel like a fantasy? Is this a fairy tale? The three sacred ancestors looked at each other again. Their eyes were filled with fear. Qianhu couldn't have spread false news like this. Did that mean that the sacred mountain had really flown away? Was it really controlled by Lu Li? The fact that the sacred mountain was a piece of treasure was not known to the average people. Only the sacred ancestors knew. For others, it was unbelievable that the sacred mountain could fly away. But the three sacred ancestors knew that the sacred mountain could fly away. Buzzing, Qianhu took out a jade talisman from his interspatial ring. It was Sacred Ancestor Guang's token. At the same time, he took out a seal stone and poured in some demonic energy. The seal stone glowed, and an image appeared in the air. In the projection, a massive mountain was rapidly shrinking before flying off toward the west as a streak of light. The sacred ancestor Guang hurled a few words of exasperation at the sacred ancestor before flying off into the west. Swish, 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 the expressions of the three sacred ancestors changed drastically, And it wasn't just an ordinary change. Their faces turned deathly pale, and their eyes were filled with terror. Perhaps Qianjing and the others did not understand the significance of the sacred mountain to the demonic abyss, but they knew it the best. The Saint Mountain was everything to the Devil Abyss. Without the Saint Mountain, the Devil Abyss would be finished. Panic, unease, and terror. The three sacred ancestors hadn't felt this way for many years. At this moment, they forgot about Saint Emperor Xiaoyao and the stone box inside the shield. The only thing left in their minds was fear. They could not imagine what the demonic abyss would become if they lost the sacred mountain. Whoosh, whoosh, sacred ancestor Yuan took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He did not know what had happened, but it was a fact that the sacred mountain was under Lu Li's control. Even though the sacred mountain was under control, it would still be in the abyss for the time being. Lu Li would not be able to escape. Therefore, as long as they returned as fast as they could, they would still have chance. As long as they could take the holy mountain and kill Lu Li, everything would not be so bad. Go back now. This idea came to sacred ancestor Yuan's mind. He could not think about anything else now. For the Devil Abyss, the sacred mountain was everything. Nothing was more important than the sacred mountain. He looked at the other two sacred ancestors. The three of them had the same idea. Without any hesitation, they want to go back at once. However, they came to their senses and looked at the stone box. If they left, the stone box might fall into the hands of Saint Emperor Xiaoyao. What about leaving sacred ancestor Tian and sacred ancestor Yun to continue the attack? This idea came to sacred ancestor Yuan's mind, but he rejected it immediately. The thing in the stone box could help the demon abyss race to rise, but the sacred mountain was the foundation of the Devil Abyss. Without the sacred mountain, the demon abyss race would become weaker. What would be the point of getting the stone box then? Without the foundation, how could they rise? Sacred ancestor Yuan knew better than anyone else how powerful the sacred mountain was. He was not sure that he could take the sacred mountain. Therefore, he hoped that at least 3 sacred ancestors would go back. That way, he would be more confident. Of course, the most important thing was that it wouldn't matter if the stone box fell into the hands of Saint Emperor Xiaoyao. It would take Saint Emperor Xiaoyao at least over 100 years to crack the stone box. The stone box could not be moved. Without cracking the runes inside, it would be impossible to take it away. Therefore, it didn't matter if the stone box was given to Saint Emperor Xiaoyao. He could neither take it away nor crack it. 100 years was enough for them to solve the problem of the sacred mountain. As long as the problem of the sacred mountain was solved, the problem of the third heaven would not be a problem anymore. Let's go, sacred ancestor Yuan shouted and took the lead to leave. Sacred ancestor Tian and sacred ancestor Yun looked at the stone box reluctantly and followed him. Qianjing and the others were still confused. They still could not figure out how a sacred mountain could fly. How could it shrink? How could it move so fast? How could that human be so powerful that he could control the entire sacred mountain? Let's go, sacred ancestor Tian said coldly, seeing that they were not moving. Qianjing and the others came to their senses and left quickly. Is he putting on a show? Saint Emperor Xiaoyao had been paying attention to the situation outside. It seemed that he was confused. An idea came to his mind. Sacred ancestor Yuan was full of tricks. Was he trying to trick him? Wait, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao thought about it and felt something was not right. It wouldn't take long for the barrier to be broken. Besides, what was the point of lying to him? Even if they left, he could only leave after the shield was gone. He could not crack the runes on the stone box. Therefore, it was pointless to lie to him. If that's the case, then it's true. Thinking of this, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao trembled. If it was true, the 3 sacred ancestors would go back to the abyss of demons at once. Judging by their expressions, the sacred mountain was more important to them than the stone box. Lu Li. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao's eyes glowed and his cheeks turned rosy. Lu Li had brought him such a surprise? Just now, he was wondering if Lu Li had really gone to the abyss of demons for help. But Lu Li had endured hardships. Did he do something big in the abyss of demons? The scene just now was very clear to him. A huge mountain flew up, then quickly shrunk and broke through the sky. He saw the fear in the eyes of the abyss of demons, the flustered and exasperated sacred ancestor Wang, and the fear in the eyes of the three sacred ancestors. Ha! 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 Saint Emperor Xiaoyao suddenly burst into laughter. Whether Lu Li could succeed or not, at least he had saved his life. Lu Li had bought time for him and for the human race. Variable. Saint Emperor Xiaoyao suddenly remembered what immortal Tianzue said. He once said there would be variables in 100 years. Was this the so-called variable? Lu Li was the variable? Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Leader's Mobile Version. Chapter 2994. While waiting, Saint King Xiaoyao deciphered the runes. 5 days later, the shield disappeared. Saint King Xiaoyao thought for a while and realized that the shield was still there because the three divine ancestors had been attacking it. Unfettered Saint Emperor wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he tried to bring this thing away. In the end, he spent 5 days and thought of many methods, yet it was to no avail. This thing was like a heaven-supporting pillar. No one was able to move it at all. Without deciphering the runes on the stone box, the item inside could not be taken out. Therefore, Saint King Xiaoyao felt it was pointless to stay here. He thought about it and began to build runes around the stone box. He was afraid that powerful warriors from the abyss of demons would come after he left. Therefore, he decided to build some runes and then leave. The runes he built could last for a while. He spent 7 days and built 3 runes. Then, he left the underground palace quickly. After walking out of the palace, he did not leave immediately. Instead, he crushed a token in his hand and waited quietly nearby. Half a day later, a man came. He dropped to one knee in front of Saint King Xiaoyao and said, "Greetings, Saint King Xiaoyao." Saint King Xiaoyao nodded and asked, "What is the situation at the third heaven? Is there any news of the abyss of demons retreating?" "Retreating?" It was an Emperor Quasi. He said with a frown, "There is no news of them retreating. Maybe there is no news yet? Then, why did the abyss of demons retreat?" "Yes." Saint King Xiaoyao thought about it. Not much time had passed. Even if the abyss of demons wanted to retreat, it would take some time. If what Lu Li had done was true, then Saint Emperor of Xiaoyao believed that the abyss of demons would retreat soon, and all of them would retreat to the northern plains. They would retreat to the northern plains, a complete retreat. After a while, Saint King Xiaoyao waved his hand and said, "Send out my order. Tell all the scouts to go and check on the abyss of demons. If the abyss of demons has retreated, tell the immortal to come here at once. I will go back and take command. Tell him that he must come because of something important." "Yes." The Emperor Quasi nodded and left quickly. Saint King Xiaoyao went back underground to figure out a way to crack the stone box. He wanted to obtain the treasure within the stone box before the 3 sacred ancestors returned. If it was an extremely powerful divine tool, then perhaps he could use it to suppress the demonic abyss. Back in the underground hall, standing next to the stone box, Saint Emperor Xiaoyao recalled what he saw. He could not help but exclaim, "Lu Li, how did you do that? Are you really the variable that the enlightened person spoke of? Can he really rely on his own strength to turn the tide and save the entire third heaven?" Lu Li didn't know if he could save the third heaven. All he knew was that he had a headache because he didn't know where to go. He controlled the sacred mountain to fly, for who knew how far. There were demonic abyss strongholds everywhere. He had already lost his way and didn't know where he was. The sacred mountain was a good treasure, but the devil abyss's sacred ancestors would definitely rush back. At that time, they might have a way to control the sacred mountain, or at least suppress it. Therefore, he had to leave the demonic abyss as soon as possible. Lu Li had thought about shattering the void and running into the endless void. In this way, he could find the way back to the third heaven. However, the space here was too stable. He could not shatter the void. There seemed to be an invisible force in the space here that made it difficult for him to crack open a hole. He had to wander around to see if there was a place where the space was weak. Unfortunately, he had been wandering for 2 months and still could not find such a place. The sacred mountain was fast 10 times faster than the Asmodean ancestor. However, the abyssal abyss was filled with Asmodean puppets. Sacred Ancestor Guang could teleport over and over again. More importantly, all the civilians in the abyssal abyss were on the move. No matter where the sacred mountain went, it would be discovered. Unless Luli killed all the civilians in the abyssal abyss, he could not escape from Sacred Ancestor Guang. Buzzing, suddenly a huge claw condensed in the air in front of them, covering half the sky. That huge claw ruthlessly grabbed at the sacred mountain. Luli asked Blood Fairy to enlarge the sacred mountain and fight against the claw. The holy mountain came crashing down, and the claw was directly smashed into pieces. Then, Luli asked Blood Fairy to fly the sacred mountain away as fast as it could. In the blink of an eye, the sacred mountain had vanished into the distance. Buzzing, a man emerged. It was Sacred Ancestor Guang in midair. He was angry. He had tried many times. However, given his abilities, he had tried many ways, but he could not stop the sacred mountain. Sacred Ancestor Guang did not know what to do. All he could do was to chase after the sacred mountain again and again. Every time, Luli would not waste time on him. After Sacred Ancestor Guang's attacks were defeated, Luli would fly the sacred mountain away. As a matter of fact, Luli had lost track of the route. Most of the time, he would wander around randomly, and he would even go back the way he came. Sacred Ancestor Guang was pleased. Luli was running around like a headless fly, which was the best outcome. When Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the others came back, they would figure out a way to stop the sacred mountain, suppress it, and finally kill Luli. Luli flew the sacred mountain over. Suddenly, many abyssal demon warriors flew out from a mountain in front of Luli and surrounded the sacred mountain. Luli was already in a bad mood. He flew into a rage. He used psychic power to check and found a small city on the mountain. Nearby were villages where some of the royal family and many of the abyssal demon warriors lived. A glint of killing intent rose in Luli's eyes. He told Blood Fairy to fly the sacred mountain toward the mountain in front of him. There were many members of the royal family in the small city. When they noticed the sky was darkening, they were frightened. They flew up, trying to run away. Boom! The sacred mountain was fast. None of the royal family members could fly away in time. The abyssal demon warriors in the villages nearby were all crushed. The sacred mountain was tall, but it had a pit with a depth of hundreds of miles. There were thousands of members of the royal family in the small city, and tens of thousands of the abyssal demon warriors lived in the villages. However, all of them disappeared after the sacred mountain came down. The small city was gone, and so were the villages. Everything was crushed. The average abyssal demon warriors were not strong. How could they survive the pressure from the sacred mountain? Blood Fairy did not know how to control the sacred mountain yet. But how heavy was the sacred mountain? The sacred mountain was fast, and the gravity was horrifying. Over half of the abyssal demon warriors were crushed to death. Only a small number of the abyssal demon warriors survived. They were wounded but not killed. The group of demon abyss royalty who hadn't died all let out a sigh of relief. As long as they weren't dead, it was fine. If they weren't dead, they could heal and live. Whoosh! The sacred mountain flew up and then whooshed down again. The abyssal demon warriors had just taken a breather when they realized that the sky was darkening again. Boom! The ground trembled again. This time, all the severely wounded members of the royal family were crushed to death. The sacred mountain flew up and whooshed into the distance. An hour later, Sacred Ancestor Guang stood there. Looking at the wreckage on the ground, he bellowed in rage. Luli, if I have the chance, I will grind your bones into dust. Grind your bones into dust. Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Leaders Mobile Version. Chapter 2995. Sacred Ancestor Tian regretted. He felt the worst thing he had done in his life was to ask Luli to surrender. When he returned to the abyss, he wanted to slap himself in the face. Luli had been on the run in the abyss for months. He had gone around the entire abyss. But that wasn't the main point. The main point was that he had been slaughtering his way through. In the past few months, he had killed at least 100 million Devil Abyss clansmen. Tens of thousands of cities and devil strongholds have been destroyed by him. The entire sacred abyss had been reduced to ruins by him. It didn't matter that cities were destroyed or that hundreds of millions of regular members of the abyss were killed. What mattered was that more than 100,000 members of the royal family were killed. Those were the royal family, the core force of the abyss. The royal family had the best resources and the highest status. They had been ruling the abyss for millions of years. Why were there only a few million members of the royal family? There was a reason. It was because it was hard to have children of the royal family. It was the same with the dragon rebel race. Special races and powerful races often found it hard to have children. It was the same for the royal family of the abyss. Therefore, every member of the royal family was precious. The death of any member of the royal family would be a loss to the abyss. Now, more than 100,000 members of the royal family had died. There were many more promising ones among them. When the three sacred ancestors came back and heard the news, sacred ancestor Tion almost passed out. It was not a mistake to ask Lu Li to surrender. The mistake was that he didn't control Lu Li and made Lu Li a slave. He thought he could control Lu Li with the holy water in the pond. Lu Li's behavior made him believe that Lu Li had completely submitted to the abyss. At least, Lu Li could not go back to the third heaven. He had no other choice but to go to the abyss. He had asked Lu Li to come to the pond to cultivate because he wanted Lu Li to be completely demonized and integrated into the abyss. He had thought that with the sacred ancestors here, nothing would go wrong. Even if sacred ancestor Yuan had gone to the third heaven, sacred ancestor Wang would be fine. But then something happened. Sacred ancestor Tion felt like spitting out blood. He was annoyed, and he was filled with killing intent. If he could capture Lu Li this time, he would torture Lu Li to death. Sacred ancestor Yuan was also furious. He quickly teleported over with the other two sacred ancestors. This time, sacred ancestor Yuan had made up his mind to take down the sacred mountain at all costs and kill Lu Li. Their teleportation speed was very fast, and it only took them 5 days to catch up to Sacred Mountain. Sacred Ancestor Guang was very ashamed, and when he saw Sacred Ancestor Yuan, he quickly apologized. Tell me the details. Sacred Ancestor Yuan did not know the specifics of the situation, so he quickly asked. Sacred Ancestor Guang explained the situation to him. Sacred Ancestor Yuan's eyes flickered a few times. He sighed and said, "Our ancestors actually left behind historical records. This sacred mountain is a supreme treasure. Unfortunately, generations of ancestors have been studying it, but no one has been able to refine it. To think that it would be refined by a human. I can't help but say that this is a complete joke and a humiliation to our race." Yeah, Divine Ancestor Tion sighed with emotion. I've studied the sacred mountain many times over the years. I know there's a divine formation at the heavenly lake, and I even tried to refine it. However, this divine formation is too powerful, and I was afraid that something would go wrong with the divine formation and cause the heaven lake to be destroyed, so I didn't dare to do anything. That is where the problem lies. Sacred Ancestor Yuan nodded. The heaven lake is the core of the sacred mountain. To control the sacred mountain, one must refine the heaven lake. But the formation at the heaven lake is too powerful. What if something goes wrong with the heaven lake? Because of this, our ancestors did not dare to do anything reckless, which is why this human bastard has taken advantage of us. Every Asmodean ancestor in the Asmodean abyss had noticed the problem, but none of them dared to do anything rash. That was why the sacred mountain had never been controlled. Another reason was that the formation in the heaven lake was too powerful. Lu Li had absorbed the energy from the heaven lake, which weakened the formation. Coupled with Blood Fairy's powerful ability to break the formation, this strange thing had happened due to a freak combination of factors. Lu Li could not absorb a large amount of energy from the heaven lake, Blood Fairy could not break down formations, and Asmodean Ancestor was watching Lu Li. If any of the three conditions were met, Lu Li would not have the chance to control the sacred mountain. Let's go. Sacred Ancestor Yuan waved his hand. The four sacred ancestors teleported to the front of Lu Li. They stood in a row, waiting for Lu Li to come. Sacred Ancestor Kong did not come. Sacred Ancestor Yuan ordered him to stay in the third heaven and withdraw the army to the northern plains. Sacred Ancestor Yuan was trying to come up with ideas. How to stop the sacred mountain when it came. He was not sure. After all, it was the sacred mountain, an indestructible sacred mountain. If the sacred mountain could not be destroyed, then Lu Li could not be killed inside. Sacred Ancestor Guang had been attacking for a long time, and yet he could not inflict any harm on Lu Li. Even though Sacred Ancestor Guang was stronger, could he break through the defense of the sacred mountain and kill Lu Li? Sacred Ancestor Yuan did not know. Whoosh! From the distance came a noise. Following that, a shadow flew over. Sacred Ancestor Yuan shouted, "Here they are! Get ready!" The sacred mountain was approaching. Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the other three sacred ancestors used their skills at once. They did not want to destroy the sacred mountain, only to stop it. Therefore, all the skills they used were meant to stop the sacred mountain. Sacred Ancestor Yuan used a black net, and Sacred Ancestor Guang used a claw. Sacred Ancestor Tian used black dragons. Sacred Ancestor Yin used a cloud and mist. Lu Li realized that Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the other four sacred ancestors must have come. Otherwise, there would not be four such powerful attacks. Boom, 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 boom. The four attacks landed on the sacred mountain, but the sacred mountain only trembled a little. It was not damaged at all. Lu Li was relieved. If the attacks of the four sacred ancestors could not do any harm to the sacred mountain, then at least he was safe. Let's go. He did not want to be entangled with the four sacred ancestors. He asked Blood Fairy to fly the sacred mountain in another direction. The sacred mountain was so fast that before Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the other four sacred ancestors could react, the sacred mountain had flown far away. They could no longer detect it with psychic power. This speed, Sacred Ancestor Yuan was shocked. He knew that the sacred mountain was powerful, but he did not expect it to be this powerful. The sacred mountain was several times faster than him. No wonder Sacred Ancestor Guang could not catch up with it. What should we do? Sacred Ancestor Tian was having a headache. The four sacred ancestors' attacks were powerful, but they could not suppress the sacred mountain, let alone restrain it. The fact that the sacred mountain had left so fast indicated that their attacks were ineffective against the sacred mountain. Sacred Ancestor Yuan was troubled as well. He did not go after the sacred mountain at once. After a while, his eyes glowed, and he said, "The Valley of Demons. Tell the sacred mountain to find a way to the Valley of Demons." The Valley of Demons? The other three sacred ancestors were surprised. Then their eyes glowed. They all knew about the Valley of Demons. It was a perilous place in the abyss of demons. Anyone below the level of the Asmodean ancestor could not survive in there. The Valley of Demons was vast. More importantly, the space was strange. There were many swirls in space. Once one entered, it would be difficult to come out. If they could lure Lu Li into the Valley of Demons with the sacred mountain could be trapped there. By then, they could take their time to kill Lu Li and take the sacred mountain back. P.S. That's the end of the 4th chapter. Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Leaders Mobile Version. Chapter 2996. The Demon Valley was a good place. The problem was how to lure Lu Li to fly the holy mountain into the Demon Valley. Lu Li did not want to communicate with the outside world. Even if there was a way, Lu Li was not stupid. How could he go there obediently? The Earth Demon Valley wasn't too far from here, but it wasn't too close either. It would take about 7 or 8 days to fly from the holy mountain. After some discussion, the divine ancestors decided to surround the holy mountain and force Lu Li to flee in the direction they controlled. They left quickly and caught up with Lu Li after a day. They went to the front to intercept him. The four of them formed a half circle, except for the northwest direction. The Asmodean Valley was in that direction. They hoped that Lu Li would fly the holy mountain in that direction. Boom, boom, boom. The four sacred ancestors launched their attacks at the same time. The flying mountain stopped in midair. Luli used psychic power to check. He saw four people in midair. Without any hesitation, Luli flew the mountain to the northwest. All right. The four divine ancestors were overjoyed to see the sacred mountain flying away. As long as Luli did not change his direction, they could set up some powerful formations in the Valley of Demons to lure Luli to fly the sacred mountain into the Valley of Demons. Sacred Ancestor Yuan asked Sacred Ancestor Tian to continue the chase while he brought a few other sacred ancestors to the Earth Demon Valley to make arrangements in advance. Their teleportation speed was very fast, and it only took them 2 or 3 days to arrive there. Sacred Ancestor Yuan had personally arranged it, and the other 2 sacred ancestors had assisted him. 5 days later, Sacred Ancestor Yuan received news that Luli had turned around and was flying towards the south. Sacred Ancestor Yuan was so frustrated that he wanted to vomit blood. Why did Luli change direction when he was so close to them? Along the way, Luli had destroyed more than a dozen cities and killed over 10,000 members of the royal family and tens of thousands of the Asmodeans. Pass down my order. Let all members of the royal family evacuate from the city and hide. Divine Ancestor Yuan thought for a while and ordered, also, let the large tribes disperse. Don't gather together. No tribe should have more than 10,000 people. The royal family of the Asmodeans' Abyss was small in number. They could not afford to lose more. If Luli went on like this, the Asmodeans' Abyss would suffer a great loss. Every descendant of the imperial family was very precious and could not die in vain like this. As the orders were passed down, the entire demonic abyss began to move. Countless members of the royal family began to scatter and hide. All the members of the royal family were in a state of panic. They had thought that since great ancestor Yuan and the others had returned, it would be a piece of cake to take Luli down. Little did they expect that they would be forced to hide when they returned. This made all of the Devil Abyss race feel extremely insecure. They were no longer safe in the Devil Abyss, and even the sacred ancestors couldn't guarantee their safety. How could they not be afraid? The entire Abyss of Demons was stirred up. Luli had turned the Abyss of Demons into a mess all by himself. If word of this were to spread to the third heaven, no one would believe it. The Demon Valley was almost ready, but Luli had gone to the south. Divine Patriarch Yuan and the others had to teleport again to catch up with Luli and continue to intercept him. Luli would flee as soon as he saw the 4 sacred ancestors. He would not bother with them at all. This made it easier for Divine Ancestor Yuan and the others to control them. After blocking them several times, Luli once again flew northwest. This time, everything went smoothly. When he arrived near the Demon Valley, Luli still had no intention of changing his direction. Divine Patriarch Yuan and the others were already waiting for Luli's arrival. Half an hour later, Luli finally arrived. Divine Ancestor Yuan and the others were very nervous. Whether Luli succeeded or not depended on this. If he failed, they would have a headache. They didn't know how to suppress the sacred mountain, and more people of the Demon Abyss would be killed. Luli had been greatly influenced by the Abyss of Demons. He had become violent and bloodthirsty. The more people of the Demon Abyss he killed, the stronger his desire to kill was. Now, whenever he saw a large group of people of the Demon Abyss, he couldn't help but want to crush them into pieces. Therefore, this time, Sacred Ancestor Yuan was determined to lure Luli into the Demon Valley at all costs. He was even prepared to sacrifice one of them to trap the Holy Mountain in the Demon Valley with the power of the formation. Bang! A jade talisman in Divine Patriarch Yuan's hand cracked. His eyes lit up. He shouted, "Get ready. They are coming. If we can't do it, use the Blood Demon formation." Okay. The 3 Divine Patriarchs nodded. This was a rare chance. They had to suppress the Sacred Mountain. Nothing could go wrong. When Divine Patriarch Yuan said this, his meaning was clear. If they couldn't do it, one of them would have to be sacrificed. Whoosh! After the time for dozens of breaths, they heard a shrill noise. Then, the Sacred Mountain arrived. As soon as the sacred mountain appeared above the demon valley, the sky began to tremble. Then a huge blood-red net came out and covered up an area with a radius of 300 miles. Phew, the surrounding dark clouds suddenly gathered, and the entire sky darkened. Moreover, it was frighteningly dark, and one could not even see their own fingers in front of them. Something is wrong. Luli came to his senses. He said at once, "Blood Fairy, enlarge the sacred mountain and smash it to the north. If you can break it, don't stop. Fly away." Luli sensed that something was wrong. He could be trapped here forever. He could not stay here any longer. He must leave as soon as possible. Buzzing. The sacred mountain was enlarging. In the blink of an eye, it had a radius of 30 miles. Then, with horrifying speed and strength, it smashed toward the north. It was so powerful that even a divine patriarch could be smashed away. "Let out blood." It was sacred ancestor Yuan's voice. The four sacred ancestors revealed themselves at the same time. Blood shot out of their hands and injected into the threads. Formation of blood demons. This was the most powerful formation in the Asmodean abyss. Now that the formation was activated with the blood of the divine patriarchs, it was not hard to imagine its power. The four divine patriarchs had made up their mind that they would trap the sacred mountain even if they had to run out of blood. The formation of blood demons was like a huge bowl that had sealed up this part of the world. If Luli wanted to run away, he would have to go down. Down there was the demon valley. Boom! The holy mountain smashed into the bloodlines in midair. What happened next shocked Luli. The holy mountain was so fast and powerful. How could it not break through the bloodlines? For divine patriarchs, Luli used psychic power to check. He pulled a long face. The four divine patriarchs had revealed themselves. Their blood was pouring into the threads. In other words, these were not threads, but a net of energy formed by the blood of the four divine patriarchs. "Let me see how much blood you have left." Luli snorted and gave Blood Fairy an order. Since the formation was made of the blood of the divine patriarchs, the blood of the sacred patriarchs would be consumed if the sacred mountain kept smashing at it. Luli wanted to see how much blood the divine patriarchs could shed. Boom, boom, boom. The sacred mountain kept smashing at the threads, but was stopped every time. The threads were so powerful that the sacred mountain could not break free. Luli kept changing the direction of the sacred mountain and smashed at the threads. The faces of the four divine patriarchs were turning pale, but the blood in their hands kept pouring into the formation of blood demons. The essence blood of the divine patriarchs was precious. One drop of the essence blood could kill a fifth tribulation warrior. Now a large amount of it was being consumed. Standing outside the formation of blood demons at the north, sacred ancestor Yuan laughed. "This is the formation of blood demons of our race. Do you think you can run away? Dream on. I would like to see how long you can last in the formation of blood demons. If you are still alive in 3 days, I will admit defeat." Genius in a second remember website. Apex mobile version. Chapter 2997. Sacred Ancestor Yuan's words were so loud that Luli could hear him even though he was in the pond. Luli was taken aback. Could the blood demon formation not only trap people, but also kill people? He hurriedly sensed it and soon discovered that something was wrong. It was as if there was an invisible force field in the air, an indescribable power. Although this power did not seem to be able to harm him, it made him feel an indescribable fear. The four Asmodeans, especially sacred ancestor Yuan, were the most powerful ones in the Asmodean abyss. Who knew what kind of strange attacks he knew? If he was killed unknowingly, then he would die in vain. "I have to get out of here as soon as possible." Luli made up his mind. He used psychic power to check around, and at the same time, he activated the trace of Tao. Soon, he saw something down there. Was there a huge abyss down there? His psychic power could not reach the bottom. Maybe there was a way out? Both the bottom and the direction were shrouded by the blood-red threads. Anyone else would think of going down and shrinking the holy mountain so that they could fly all the way down. The soil would be easily squeezed out. No, Sacred Ancestor Yuan is not that stupid. Luli rejected the idea. Since Sacred Ancestor Yuan had set this up, there must be a formation down there. He would not leave such a big loophole. Soon, he got rid of the idea and continued to smash the holy mountain. At the same time, he kept observing to see if there was a way out. An hour later, Luli was even more frightened. He could not break through the blood web, and he did not dare to use his void traversing skill. The space here was so stable that he could not fly. How about I go down there and try? Another thought came to Luli's mind. Even though the underground was like the mouth of a huge beast, it was still terrifying. But Luli was in the holy mountain. Regular attacks could not break the holy mountain. He was safe. Let's go. Luli shrunk the holy mountain and then flew down slowly. As the holy mountain moved downward, Sacred Ancestor Yuan and the others held their breaths. Clearly, he was just trying to scare Luli. He did not have the ability to kill Luli with the holy mountain between them. Everything he did was to lure Luli into the Valley of Demons. As long as Luli went in, he would probably be trapped there. Then, they would have a way to control the holy mountain and eventually kill Luli. All right, when the sacred mountain sank into the black mist below, the four sacred ancestors immediately felt relieved. Sacred Ancestor Tian even cheered loudly. Sacred Ancestor Yuan had said that Luli would die in 3 days, but in fact, they could not hold on for more than 3 days. At this rate, they would be heavily injured in, at most a day, and they would no longer be able to continue supporting the Blood Demon Grand Array. That was why they had made up their minds to die. If Luli had not gone down to the Valley of Demons and kept on smashing the Holy Mountain, then in half a day, the weakest of them, Sacred Ancestor Guang, would not be able to stand it anymore and would probably die here. Fortunately, everything was perfect. Luli had gone down. They believed that Luli would not be able to come back. The Earth Demon Valley would become Luli's burial ground. Sacred Ancestor Yuan did not inject his blood. Instead, he released a wisp of black gas to investigate the situation below. After a while, he smiled and said, "All right, we can catch a turtle in a jar. The Blood Demon formation can be withdrawn." The other 3 divine ancestors quickly stopped injecting blood. Divine Ancestor Yuan canceled the Blood Demon formation, and the blood-colored threads in the air gradually disappeared. Seeing that the other 3 divine ancestors were pale, Divine Ancestor Yuan asked, "Do you want to take a break?" If it were just regular blood, it would be fine, but they had just released essence blood. They had consumed so much essence blood that their vitality was greatly weakened. Their combat abilities would inevitably decline. If something happened to them down there, they could die. No, let's go down first. Don't make any trouble. Nothing can happen to the Holy Mountain. Otherwise, we will all be sinners of the sacred abyss. Let's go. Sacred Ancestor Yuan said no more. He took the lead and flew down. The 4 divine ancestors flew to the entrance of the Valley of Demons. Sacred Ancestor Yuan shot out rays of black light, and another formation was activated. This formation was formed by black gas, like a manhole cover. The Earth Demon Valley was already dark. Now it was completely dark. One could not even see their own fingers. There was also a strange force field here that limited their psychic powers. The 4 divine ancestors were better off. They could just manage to detect within a radius of 300 miles. The Earth Demon Valley was very big. It was not just big. It was actually a small, independent world. As soon as they entered the entrance, they would enter the small world down there. With a flash of black light, the 4 divine ancestors entered the Earth Demon Valley. Luli had been here for a while. He was shocked to see that the inside was boundless. This place, Luli noticed that it was pitch dark. Psychic powers were limited here. He could only sense less than 3 miles away. There was a strange force field here as well, making people feel suffocated. The space here was not stable. There seemed to be spatial vortexes in many places. The spatial vortexes were like the mouths of beasts, full of danger. Luli did not dare to move around. He tried to sense the surroundings with a trace of Tao to see if there were any dangers and if there was a way out. A moment later, he heard 4 noises above him. The 4 divine ancestors had come down. Blood Fairy, go around. Be careful and avoid those spatial vortexes. I can sense danger, Luli said at once. Blood Fairy flew the holy mountain over at once. She dared not to go too fast. Blood Fairy's ability to sense was limited. Luli had to tell her to fly. Ha ha ha. The four divine ancestors caught up. Sacred Ancestor Yuan laughed and said, Luli, don't run. This is the Earth Demon region. There's a strong force field here. You have no sense of direction. No matter how you turn around, you will end up in a circle. Luli ignored Sacred Ancestor Yuan's words and flew toward the Holy Mountain. Since the Holy Mountain was small, Luli could easily avoid the horrifying vortexes. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli was surprised to find that the Holy Mountain had come back. He sensed the four divine ancestors, but they did not seem to be moving. Ha ha ha. Sacred Ancestor Tian laughed. Luli, accept your fate. You cannot run away. Come out and give the Holy Mountain back to us. We can spare your life. Are you an idiot? Luli could not help but send a message. Do you think your words are credible? How would you say such childish words? How did you, a sacred ancestor, cultivate to such a level? Idiot. Courting death. Sacred Ancestor Tian flew into a rage. He had never been humiliated like this in his life. He bellowed, You bastard, you can talk your way out of this. When we catch you, we will torture you to death. Old man, do you have any shame? Luli retorted. You told me not to talk my way out of this, and here you are, babbling. Aren't you talking your way out of this as well? You are old, but you have no respect for your elders. You are so shameless. Poof, Sacred Ancestor Tian had used up too much blood essence just now. He was already injured. At this moment, agitated by Luli, he spat out some blood and almost fell from the sky. Genius 1 second remember site address. Apex mobile version. M. Chapter 2998. Recently, the scouts of the Third Heaven have been very confused. Although many scouts have been evacuated and were no longer searching the ancient battlefield, there were still many scouts scattered across the continents and seas. There were at least tens of thousands of them. Taoist Master Tianhe ordered these scouts not to search the ancient battlefield, but to hide and pay close attention to the movements of the Demon Abyss Army, and to control the situation within the Third Heaven. Recently, many scouts had discovered a strange problem, and that was the Abyss Demon Army was retreating. This was not a change in strategy, nor was it a transfer of troops, nor was it an act. It was a true retreat, a complete retreat. Many of the continents and seas were now under the command of the Demon Abyss Royal Family's experts. Now, all of them had retreated, not even leaving behind a single scout. The evacuation of the human race was done in groups. 100 scouts were led by a scout captain, and 10 scout squads were led by a commander. Finally, these commanders were directly responsible to the 3 quasi-emperors, and the 3 quasi-emperors were responsible to Taoist Tianze. News of the situation kept coming up. Soon, it reached the ears of the 3 quasi-emperors. These 3 quasi-emperors teleported to Purple Sun City almost at the same time and found the heavenly Sin Immortal. Retreat? All of them were retreating? Are you sure you did not make a mistake? Spiritual Master Tianzue was stunned when he heard the news. The demonic abyss had the absolute upper hand. So why did they retreat? Could there be a deeper conspiracy? The question was, what else could the human race do? If the sacred ancestors attacked together, the Purple Sun continent would definitely not be able to stop them. Since they could easily exterminate the human race, why would they need to resort to trickery? Spiritual Master Sky Crime couldn't figure it out, so he could only order his subordinates to continue investigating and tracking. Many monarch rankers also received the news and rushed to Purple Yang Palace to find Immortal Tianzue to ask about the situation. Spiritual Master Tianzue did not explain and let everyone wait patiently. After another half a month, the quasi-emperor sent by the unfettered emperor returned and passed on the message from the unfettered emperor. The words that the quasi-emperor sent back not only did not solve the mystery, but instead made Immortal Tianzue and the group of Emperor-level experts even more confused. However, everyone sensed something unusual. Based on Saint Emperor Xiao Yao's words, the situation seemed to be developing in a good direction. Was this a trap? But immortal Tianzue thought of a possibility. Saint Emperor Xiao Yao was being controlled? Did they purposely trick him into going there to die? However, Taoist Heavenly Sin quickly rejected this idea. With Sage Emperor Carefree Yao's character, it was absolutely impossible for him to be controlled by the demonic abyss. If something went wrong, he would definitely commit suicide rather than be controlled by the demonic abyss. Spiritual Master Sky Crime made some arrangements and immediately went to the Western Yuan continent in secret. He ordered all the Emperor-level experts here to be on guard. If the situation was not good, they were to retreat according to the original plan. The group of Emperor-level experts were excited, expectant, and somewhat worried. Reports from the scouts came back one after another. Demonic Abyss had been retreating, and the army was retreating towards Northern Plains continent. Many demonic puppets were empty, and not a single demonic Abyss soldier was left. Don't act rashly. Perfected Ziyun immediately ordered the scouts not to destroy the demonic puppet and to continue monitoring the situation. The complicated emotions of the group of Emperor-level experts were also transmitted to the people of the Great Clans and then to the entire Purple Sun continent. The people of the Purple Sun continent were already in a state of panic, and the strange behavior of the upper echelons of the human race made them even more flustered. Could something have happened? Had the army of the demonic abyss arrived? The mystery was solved after a month. Saint Emperor Xiao Yao came back. After learning about the situation, he made an announcement. He, Spiritual Master Sky Crime, and all the other Emperor-level experts had conferred a new title to the brave and resolute General Lu Huang. In addition, the announcement stated that from now on, the Lu family would be protected by all the major families. Anyone who dared to kill a member of the Lu family would be hunted down by Spiritual Master Sky Crime, Saint Emperor Xiao Yao, and all the other Emperor-level experts. The last sentence of the announcement was that the army of the demonic abyss had retreated and the crisis of the human race was temporarily resolved. All of this was due to Lu Li's contribution. As soon as the announcement came out, the entire Purple Sun continent was in an uproar. The announcement was signed by Spiritual Master Sky Crime, Saint Emperor Xiao Yao, and many other Emperor-level experts, which meant that the news was not a joke. Lu Li had just reached the Emperor realm, and he was conferred the title of Lu Huang. What did that mean? It meant that he was qualified to be on an equal footing with Spiritual Master Sky Crime and Saint Emperor Xiao Yao, and all the Emperor-level experts had to salute him. Spiritual Master Sky Crime, Saint Emperor Xiao Yao, and all the other Emperor-level experts spoke at the same time to clarify Lu Li's name. What was Lu Li? He was a shameful traitor, a bastard who surrendered to the demonic abyss, and a spineless slave. Previously, many people had cursed and despised him. Now, things had changed. So many powerful warriors were justifying him. In other words, Lu Li was pretending to surrender. He didn't betray the human race. He told a big lie and was cursed by thousands of people. All of this was just for the sake of enduring hardships and saving the human race. The demonic abyss had retreated. Were they withdrawing? This was all thanks to Lu Li. Many people found this hard to believe. After all, Lu Li was only an Emperor-level warrior, and he was in the demonic abyss. What would he do alone? Even if he could assassinate an Asmodean lord, how could he make the demonic abyss retreat? They could not figure it out. No one could understand this. Not even many Emperor rankers. Not even Saint Emperor Xiao Yao could understand how Lu Li could control the sacred mountain in the demonic abyss. How could he stir up trouble in the demonic abyss and not die? There were too many questions, but two things were certain. First, the demonic abyss was indeed retreating. Second, Lu Li was not a traitor or a coward. He was a hero of the world. Rainflower City. After the announcement was made, the teleportation formations in the city glowed. Many patriarchs and families were teleported over to a mansion in the north, the Lu Mansion. This medium-sized city was where the Lu family settled down. It used to be deserted. Many civilians in the city had moved out. They didn't want to live in the same city as the Lu family. Now, the city was as lively as the Ziyang city. Yin family, Hua family, Xiang family, Qi family, and the other family patriarchs came at once to deliver the good news. The families that had arranged marriages with disciples of the Lu family all teleported over with their young ladies. Those young ladies had been called back to their families a while ago. Sunlight Emperor sent a patriarch over. The family patriarch of the Feng Ho family came in person, and so did the Zhu family. The small Lu mansion couldn't accommodate all of them. Lu Ling was in closed-door cultivation when she was woken up by Lu Renhuang. Qi Dingdong, Xiang Linglong, and Yin Xingxi were all woken up. All the important people of the family came out. Lu Renhuang burst into tears. Qi Dingdong was sobbing. Yin Xingxi and Xiang Linglong looked at each other and smiled. Bai Xiaoshuang, Bai Qiuxue, Prajna, and Zhang Qiling were crying and laughing at the same time. And Luer clenched her fists. Lu Ling was the only one who was calm. There was a glint of pride and comfort in her eyes. She ignored all the important people outside. She stared at the north and murmured in a voice that only she could hear, "My brother, you did not let me down. Brother, you must come back soon. We are all waiting for you. We are waiting for you to come back with glory." Genius 1 Second Remember Site Address. Apex Mobile Version. M. Chapter 2999. Luli was troubled. He flew the mountain around in the Valley of Demons. He did not know how many times, but he felt he was going around in circles. There was a mysterious force field here that could affect him imperceptibly. It was pitch dark here. Apart from the hundreds of spatial swirls, there was nothing else. It must be the spatial swirls. Luli thought. The spatial swirls were distributed in different areas. They must be connected to some natural formation that could trigger the mysterious force field. Luli had been here for 5 days. The 4 sacred ancestors had been sitting in the center. They were clearly healing. They had consumed too much blood and were in dire need of recovery. The mountain could not fly away, but they were not in a hurry. They had to figure out a way. They had to figure out a way to control the mountain and kill Lu Li. Otherwise, they could not do anything to Lu Li or take back the mountain. It was easy to enter the Valley of Demons, but difficult to leave. Without knowing the trick, no one could leave. Only the 4 of them knew the trick. The other powerful warriors in the Abyss of Demons would be trapped here for the rest of their lives. Those spatial swirls were not just swirls. They contained horrifying spatial force. Warriors, even Asmodeans, could be strangled to death in there. Louis did not dare to come out. He did not know the trick. He had been here for so many days, but he was still going around in circles. Therefore, the 4 sacred ancestors were not worried. It seemed that the mountain could not be attacked. In that case, what was the difference between Lu Li and a turtle in a jar? Lu Li had the same feeling. He walked around for a few more days before he gave up. He asked Blood Fairy to bring the holy mountain down to the ground. Lu Li asked Blood Fairy to go underground and check to see if there were any powerful divine glyphs. Blood Fairy, you must be careful. Be careful. Do not go too far. You must come back as soon as possible. Don't let those sacred ancestors kill you. Lu Li said, if anything happened to Blood Fairy, then it would be over for him. He would not be able to control the mountain, and the sacred ancestors would be able to crack it open. Blood Fairy knew the severity of the situation. She went out for a look and came back soon. She said with certainty, Master, there are no divine patterns underground. Everything is so strange here. I think it is because of those spatial swirls. Really? Lu Li squinted. He made up his mind and said, make the holy mountain as big as it can be and then smash into a swirl. Knock it out. All right, Blood Fairy replied. Then the holy mountain continued to expand until it was thousands of miles wide. The largest whirlpool in the surroundings was only a few dozen li wide. If such a large, sacred mountain crashed into it, the whirlpool shouldn't be able to cause any damage to the sacred mountain. The sacred mountain had become so huge that it naturally alerted the sacred ancestors. The four sacred ancestors all flew over just in time to see the sacred mountain crash into a whirlpool. Hee. Sacred ancestor Guang chuckled. Luli was being too naive. They had attacked the swirl before. They attacked it with all their might, but the swirl did not budge. They could not even make it tremble, let alone destroy it. Boom! The sacred mountain crashed into one of the swirls. The entire sacred mountain trembled, but the swirl, which was relatively smaller, did not change. Luli was dumbfounded. The swirl was floating in the air like a rootless duckweed. Even a sacred ancestor should have been smashed away by the force of the sacred mountain. But the swirl did not tremble at all. This is strange. Luli was troubled. He was like a cat trying to catch a hedgehog. He did not know where to start. After some thoughts, Luli controlled the sacred mountain to smash into the other swirls. Unfortunately, each time, the swirls did not tremble. Luli, don't waste your energy. Sacred ancestor Yuan said, loud and calm. This is the Valley of Demons, the most perilous place in the sacred abyss. You cannot get out. Let's talk. We only want a sacred mountain. You name the terms. The terms are simple. Luli replied, if all the Asmodeans of your race commit suicide, I will return the sacred mountain at once. What do you say? Grow up. Sacred ancestor Yuan said, you are not a kid, and we are not playing house. We must be reasonable in our negotiation. If we cannot do it, then we don't need to talk. So, we don't need to talk. Luli was determined. He was not stupid. If the sacred mountain was returned, he would die for sure. What was the point of talking? You don't want to go back to a Middle King realm? Sacred ancestor Yuan said, aren't you afraid that we will wipe out your entire family? What is the use of the sacred mountain? We will open a passage for you to go back to a Middle King realm, and then we will retreat. How about that? We will not attack the Middle King realms anymore. Go ahead and kill them all. Kill all the people from the Middle King realms. Luli sneered and said, I don't care about anything. Is the sacred mountain useless? I think it is. At least, it is strong in defense. It is a good spatial defense artifact. Also, the heaven pool can make me stronger. Such a good treasure. I like it very much. Sacred ancestor Yuan and the others looked at each other helplessly. Luli had been demonized, and his character had changed. He had become heartless and selfish. It seemed that his humanity was almost gone. Apart from himself, he would not care about anyone else. It seemed that the negotiation could not go on. There was only one way to go, which was to find a way to crack the sacred mountain and take control of it. The sacred ancestors wasted no more time. They sat down with their legs crossed and began to discuss how to take control of the sacred mountain. Luli paid no more attention to the sacred ancestors. He began to think of a way out. An hour later, Luli said, Blood Fairy, go and take control of the sacred mountain's inscription. Think of a way to control the offensive inscription. If the sacred mountain can attack, then we can kill the sacred ancestors and we will be safe. That will take a long time. Blood Fairy answered honestly. It will take at least a few years, or even decades. The divine inscriptions here are too powerful. They're extraordinarily powerful and complex. Go. There is no other way, Luli said. He was at a loss. He had to wait for Blood Fairy to crack the inscription. He began to cultivate. After a while, he suddenly realized something. Something was not right. His realm of Dharma had changed. It had been a long time. What was it like now? The realm of Dharma had absorbed energy from the entire heaven pool. Luli checked. Soon he was surprised. The purple smoke in the realm of Dharma was thick, but the purple smoke was coming together. It seemed to be coming together. The purple smoke became darker. Luli noticed that the chains of sequence had been hiding in the smoke. They seemed to be enjoying it. What? Soon, Luli made a new discovery. In the purple smoke, he found a drop of purple liquid. When he used psychic power to check on the purple liquid, he felt a surge of horrifying energy. It was as if he was a mortal who found a drop of blood from a god. That feeling made his soul tremble. Please remember this book's original domain name. Third Sect Leaders Mobile Version. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.